everybody's mics are live. This time we'd like to kick off the special meeting here on September 13th, focused on interviews of potential candidates for our next city administrator. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Katie, if we could please call roll.
Schumate?
Here.
Cox?
Here.
Cosmore?
Here.
McNabb?
Yes.
Molnar?
Here.
Valentine? Wood?
Here.
Council, we'd like a motion to excuse absent Councilmember Valentine.
Make a motion, excuse Councilman Valentine.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Oh,
Second by Cosmore. Katie, please call roll.
Cox?
Yes.
Cosmore?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Molnar?
Yes.
Schumate?
Yes.
Wood?
yes.
Fantastic. So we have on our agenda this evening 4 applicants that are scheduled. Each applicant will have a 45-minute window. During that window, we will rotate across each council member to ask the questions that have been printed out. You'll see questions 1 through 10 have been printed. We received an additional question or questions from Treasurer Fonte. So if council's aligned, we've put that on the podium for your reference, and that will be question number 11. So with that being said, we'd love to invite our first applicant up to the podium. If you could make sure that light is green for us, press that button. Perfect. And then you can state your name, and we will go ahead and get started.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Ken Martin. I am the village manager of Bingham Farms, and I'm so thankful that you called me here today to have an interview with you. It's just a privilege to be considered, I guess.
We are grateful for you joining today for the interview. Any opening comments you'd like to make? If not, we'll start with question number 1.
Oh, go ahead.
Great. Councilman McNabb, we'll start with you, and we'll just go across the chambers in order of questions.
And, opening statement, what do you know about the city of Gibraltar?
Well, I've visited here several times. I've been on your website quite a bit. I've researched what the Michigan Department of Treasury Analytics have to say about the city, which is mostly good, frankly. And I've had some extensive conversations with Vince Pashtu about this position.
Okay.
I've looked at your master plan and a lot of your future land use maps, zoning maps, DDA maps, that kind of thing. I can't tell you that I've never lived here, so I mean that's
I understand.
But that most managers don't live in the communities that they manage. It happens occasionally, but not very often. I don't live in Bingham Farms either.
Okay.
Great. Any clarifying question for?
Is there anything we need to, anything about yourself that we need to,
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, sir.
anything about yourself?
Anything about
Like to make a
myself?
statement, yes, about yourself?
I've been the village manager of Bingham Farms for the past 6 years. Prior to that, I was an assistant in Lathrop Village, which is
Okay.
actually a city. And I have my MPA degree, got that in 2014 while I was working at a public school district for, it was Westwood Community Schools. I worked in a Westwood Cyber High School, which was a program set up for at-risk children. Prior to that, I worked for many years as a journalist covering public affairs, mostly Southeast Oakland County. I was also a freelancer for a while and did some political consulting. Prior to that, I worked in a law firm for 8 years, 2 different law firms, as a legal assistant. I spent quite a lot of time in public service and reporting about public service.
Very good. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Okay, Ken. My name's Marsha Cosmore. How are you doing? Communication's key. And how are you with asking for help or instructions if you are not comfortable with the task?
I have no problem asking for assistance when necessary. I agree with you that communication is key. I spent quite a few years in the media working in communications. So that's pretty well ingrained with me. It's a priority where I work today. We have, when since I have been in that community for the last 6 years, we've done a number of things. Primarily, we have added video capability to the council chambers. It wasn't there prior to. I was frankly shocked that it wasn't, but every community, city hall, village hall that I've ever been in, since going back to the 90s, has always been wired for sound and video, and that wasn't. So we got that installed, and it was through a grant as well. But that's, the idea of reaching the public when, should they want to be reached. It's up to them to watch the meeting, of course, but that's really important. Done a lot of upgrades to the website as well over the last 6 years to make sure that things are accessible and that the government is transparent.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Martin, how are you, sir?
Hi.
My question is, when you are faced with limited resources, both financial and human, as well as other, how, as a manager, do you set priorities for the use of those limited resources that you have?
Well, limited resources is pretty common in local government today. Probably always has been, but it's much more limited now. So how do I set priorities? Well, that's kind of what's up to leave that up to the elected officials to provide some sort of collective direction when it's called for. I saw that earlier today you had this project goals for various DPW projects right on the board. I mean, that had to have been set by somebody, correct? And that might have been with, I'm assuming, with collaboration of the council and the manager. I look at it as sort of an interactive, very interactive relationship. Usually, when resources require vast sums of dollars, that's not a decision that the manager makes on his own or her own. It's something that is done collectively with the consent or the vote or the approval of the council.
How about with respect to the limited human resources and budgeting for priorities there?
Well, we wear a lot of hats in smaller communities, and I'm used to that. So lots of cross-training if necessary, making sure that everyone's on the same page, helping each other out. I imagine at some point there's going to be a question about management style, and I kind of look at that as you're not so much the coach, you're the quarterback. You're on the field with the team, and the people that you're working with are your team. And obviously it takes teamwork to move down the field. So that's kind of how I view it. It's not someone that's on the sidelines calling in plays and making timeout decisions or something like that. You're really involved. You're in there and you are leading from the field.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Katie, would you like to ask question number 4?
Sure. All right. As administrator, how do you view your role in local government in comparison to the role of the elected officials?
You're sort of an advisory. Elected officials set policy, and you carry out that policy on a day-to-day basis as the manager. There's some leeway within the policy, of course, but that has been decided before it gets to your desk. With your collaboration as the manager, these kinds of meetings, open meetings, of course, and all that kind of thing. That's kind of how I see it.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, Mr. Martin. Question number 5 is going to be, in your role as administrator, potentially, who do you feel is the most important group, individual or individuals, or organizations that you would interact with?
That's a good question. I hate to pick one group and put that group or that person or at the top of the pyramid. But whenever you see one of those organizational charts of a community, the biggest block at the top of the chart is the residents. And the residents elect you all, because you all know. And then the manager is usually the peg below those two. So in terms of importance, it's obviously the residents, but you're all elected to make decisions on their behalf, and my job is to carry out that policy on a day-to-day basis. That's how I see it. I'm not trying to discount the importance of the council or the importance of administration and staff, but I mean, everyone does work for the residents, and that's key.
Love that. Thank you. Councilwoman Wood, question number 6 is yours.
Okay. In your professional career, what do you find to have been the most rewarding aspects of your current previous jobs? Most rewarding aspects of the position you are applying for?
Most rewarding is really the day-to-day interactions I have with residents. When I can help someone, that's wonderful. That's why I'm in public service in the first place. You know, I care about people, and I care about improving their lives and their livelihoods. That's why I do this. So that is really the most important aspect, and what's most rewarding to me is helping folks. Now, I have what's called the 24-hour rule, and everybody in my office follows this rule. You get a call, you get an email, it has to be answered within 24 hours. Or I should say voicemail or email, it has to be answered within 24 hours. That doesn't mean that there's a solution right there and then, but I want folks to know that we're on it, we'll hear you, we'll work with you, we'll provide you the information. Sometimes the answer is not what they want to hear, but that has to be conveyed, of course. But so I would say that when there's a positive outcome, that's probably the most rewarding part of it. So when there's a negative outcome, well, you know, just move on to the next one. But I would have to say that that's what it is as far as where I am today. There are some various highlights throughout my career that I could point out to you if you'd like. How much time do we have?
No, I like the answer that you've given, so.
Okay, all right.
Can I ask a follow-up question on that? When you mentioned the 24-hour rule, what type of record-keeping or paperwork or note-taking practice do you employ to ensure that you have accountability for people to follow that 24-hour rule?
Well, I don't require the staff to keep track of what I'm going to tell you. But what I do, every transaction that I have, whether it's email, leaving a voicemail, having a phone conversation, or an in-person conversation, is recorded on a piece of paper. I don't mean recorded,
Sure,
but written down.
Yeah.
So the other day, I thought I had a conversation with somebody in March of 2023. Flip through the papers, and there it is, 30 minutes on the phone talking about the road project and the millage increase and all of that kind of thing with that individual. There it was. That's a practice, frankly, that I adopted when I used to bill time when I was a legal assistant. I had to record everything, and, you know, bill in a tenth of an hour is 6 minutes. So I kind of round up to 5 or 10. But that's kind of a practice that I adopted. I don't require the other folks in my office to do that, but I haven't had to. I mean, they get it, and they do it. Mm-hmm. I guess I could, but I haven't had the need. Not
Okay.
yet, anyway.
Yeah. Thank you for the follow-up.
And incidentally, emails, email, it's there forever. You don't erase your emails, and those transactions, as long as you can search them, they're there.
Yeah.
So in addition to calls and whatever else, it all goes on the log.
Sure.
That's great. Thank you. Councilman Cox, you want to take us to question number 7?
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi.
I got a two-part question.
Okay.
Do you have, what experience do you have with millage requests? And what do you feel are the most important aspects of a successful millage request campaign?
A millage request?
Yeah, if you're seeking the residents for a millage increase.
If you're going, as a ballot proposal? Okay. We have not had a millage proposal on the ballot in the 6 years that I've been at Bingham Farms. However, we just raised the millage from 9 to 10. Our millage, it's under the cap still, but we raised the millage to fund I should say council raised it. to fund a massive road project that's going to be happening in the village, starting in 2025. That involved a rollout of a special roads committee created with a couple of council members and other members of the community that were appointed. They went through fact-finding and various financing options based upon engineering estimates. It was pretty carefully done, and that committee brought its findings to the council and presented it, and after some deliberation and a couple of special meetings, they decided that the best thing to do was simply to raise the millage by 1, rather than put it on the ballot for November. This would have been this past summer, before the deadline for getting on a ballot. And secondly, creating a series of special assessment districts. So almost got there, but didn't quite. But I can say that I know, I mean, I've politically consulted on several campaigns as far as millages go. One was Smart Bus. It's been a number of years. And I know that governments can't advocate for millage. You can state facts and put out fact sheets, but a government can't actually put a millage proposal on the ballot and then campaign for it. That's a no-no. So there's a fine line there, and I would hope that if that ever happens here, we wouldn't cross it.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Councilman McNabb, we're going to come back your way for question number 8.
You got it. As city administrator, you could potentially serve as a DPW director, DDA director, on the pension board, HR director, the benefit coordinator, interfaces with the planning commission, as well as perform a variety of roles. How would you address the need in such a diverse knowledge base to be efficient and effective in all these roles?
Well, I wear most of those hats today, or I have worn them in the past. So that's just part of juggling the job. And it's a balancing act in a small community. It always is. And I have worked in 2 of them now for almost 10 years, and I've done that balance. So when I worked in Lathrop Village, I was the Planning Commission liaison. I was also the DDA director. I also oversaw the building department. I don't have a builder's license, but I was, or an inspector's license, but I handled the coordination of all that stuff.
Right.
Worn a lot of hats. They also had a Main Street program in Lathrop, and I was the Main Street manager, which involves lots of meetings with volunteers. DDA director, again, meetings, and sometimes it can be like herding cats, but getting your volunteers and your boards together and having constructive meetings is just part and parcel to the job. I haven't been a DPW director, but I don't think that'd be too much to put on the plate. Working in Bingham, I am also essentially the planning person. I'm not a planner. I don't have that AISP license, whatever they have, but I am the planning commission go-between, if you will. We don't have a DDA, but we do have a very large commercial district, which requires a lot of oversight and coordination. One of my assistants, we just promoted him recently and gave him the title of Economic Development Coordinator. But I'm the director, if you will. He's the coordinator. I think I covered all of the titles, but I mean, that's just, juggling that is just something that I've been able to do successfully for a number of years, and I don't see why that would be an issue coming aboard to a new community.
Thank you.
In this position, you may be dealing with multiple outsourced city departments, such as the assessor, the building, engineering, legal, planning. But in the eyes of the citizen, we are all simply the city. What is your approach to the citizen and to the out-of-office vendors performing their scope of work to ensure that the request is getting properly addressed and communication stays up to date with the citizens and the multiple vendors?
Planning, engineering, legal are all done by consulting contracts. So we have HRC, Hubble Roth and Clark as our village engineer. We have Giffords Webster as our village planner. I see you have McKenna on here. I used to deal with McKenna. They ran the building department in Lathrop Village. And our legal is Sechrist Wardle, a fellow by the name of Dirk Beckerleg is the lead attorney on that. I realize that with having these outside, these contracts, that the average resident watches this and doesn't know necessarily that that is not, that person doesn't work, is contracted to work, but is not an employee. It's important to trust your experts. That's what all those people are. They're the experts, and they're smart. And smart people listen to smart people. So it's really important to take their advice. Now, sometimes when they write stuff out, or when there's an analysis of a proposed development or whatnot, it can be a little wonky, if you will, a little policy wonky, with a lot of verbiage and words that are maybe common in engineering parlance, but not necessarily to the average person. It's the job of the administrator to educate folks, and I don't want to say dumb it down because that's not really fair, but bringing it into, as a writer, I do this all the time when I was in newspapers, write at a level that is understandable to the average individual. That's part of conveying that information. It's not just to the resident, but it's also to council. I don't expect everyone to be experts in planning and engineering and legal and anything else. So, it's an ongoing relationship that has to be nurtured. And again, like I mentioned, they are the experts. So it's really important to listen to what their recommendations are as well. I hope that answers the question.
Can I follow up on that question too?
You're asking me my permission? Go ahead.
In this particular question, it's like, I'm from construction industry, and every once in a while we subcontract work, and it's very difficult to manage subcontracted work because they're not your employees. And so, if we have a certain standard at our business, or a certain protocol, it's hard to hold somebody else who's not an employee to that same protocol. So I guess in this question, if there's a proposal for a development, and somebody comes in and turns it into the planning department, or turns into the clerk, and it goes first to the planning department, there may be somebody in the planning department who it gets on their desk and they're on vacation for a week. And so there have been times where somehow it's been, once it goes to planning, then it goes to a different outsourced place in engineering, and again, somebody might be out on vacation. But all the while, the person that submitted the proposal needs to know where it's at. And so that's something that, how do you handle that to know where it's at, whose desk is it on, and when is it gonna get done?
Well, coming into the administrative office is the clearinghouse, right? So you get it, and you're the hub, and you push it out to your spokes. The world runs on timelines and deadlines, and everybody should know that, including the applicant or whoever submitted. But we figure this out as it's been submitted. Well, it'll take this much time to review. So-and-so is backed up, so-and-so is out of the country for a week, whatever it is. I mean, that's got to be cleared up right away. That you don't just shove it off through an email and say, get back to me on your review. You know, I mean, there has to be a deadline, a timeline and a deadline. That's just how the world runs.
Okay.
And I'm used to that because I used to work in newspapers.
Perfect, yeah, thank you for the follow-up.
Sure.
Katie, do you want to take us to question number 10? Or, sorry, did Councilman Molnar needs 10, and then you're 11, sorry.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
10.
I know you took the time to prepare for this interview. Is there anything that you were expecting us to ask that we have not yet?
Well, that's an interesting question. No one's asked me about budget yet, so that would be a question I would expect to hear.
Okay. Tell us about budget.
Well, your budget's a little larger than Bingham Farms' budget. Our budget's about $2.5 million. And the treasurer, this is by charter, the treasurer writes the budget, but it's not without my help. We have had, since I've been there, we've had 4 treasurers. And the first one just retired around COVID time, and it was a time for her to retire anyway. The other 3, 2 came and went pretty quickly, not because they were they just weren't happy, I guess. I'm not sure. Maybe it was not enough action or too small of a community. I really don't know. The fourth fella, he's working out pretty well. And I say all that because when you've had that kind of turnover, a lot of that falls on my chair or on my desk. And it's not done without my consultation. So I'm pretty familiar with it. Honestly, a lot of budgets are, when you start looking at them, it doesn't matter what community it is, they're kind of similar. You know, much, usually anywhere from 55 to 75% of it is consumed by police and fire. And a lot of it's consumed by your office, the administrator's office as well. So there's a lot of familiarity once you start looking at public budgets. And I don't foresee that as an issue coming in.
How far out do you budget on it?
How far out do we start budgeting? Is that the question? I'm sorry.
How many years do you budget? Is it
Oh,
1 year
it's
at a
just,
time?
we just do yearly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I should say, we just do annual. Sounds more professional.
Thank you. Katie, do you want to represent Treasurer Fonte's question? And he's got it in front of him as well on the
Probably
podium.
got a lot of the budget
Oh.
questions in there.
Okay.
Yeah, let's take a look at
So
it.
our treasurer could not make it tonight, but he submitted a question that I'm going to read on his behalf. As the city's recently appointed treasurer and custodian of the city funds and accounts, we have recognized the importance of the city administrator responsibility to ensure that all 5 departments under your direct management to follow the disciplines and processes outlined in our purchasing and credit card policies, as well as the city employee employment policy. All too often, department heads and others affected by these policies for various reasons will test the waters by ignoring these processes and procedures. This forces administrative staffs of accounts payable, payroll, and others to process their paperwork and prepare checks for co-signing without all the required backup documentation essential for the check co-signers to execute the checks and/or the release of payments, payroll via the ACH method. The staff does this for fear of being late in payment processing, or perhaps there may be other influences that may make the push for payment, even though all the approval processes and procedures have not been completed. 4-parter question. Question 1 is, what disciplines, processes, internal controls, and management style do you practice ensuring the taxpayers that this won't happen under your administration, no matter what the department managers lack with the appropriate approval processes, or the influence of the prevailing political climate is or will be in the future?
I gave you the
Well,
reference for a reason.
That's quite a lot of question.
You got to meet this guy.
I can say that this hasn't been an issue where I work, and it hasn't, to my knowledge, it was not an issue in my previous place of employment, nor was it at the school district. So I can't say that I have had experience trying to correct a problem that I haven't seen. If this is a concern here, I think a thorough review of the policies with each department head would be helpful, and I would endeavor to do that. I would assume, well, I shouldn't assume anything, but that should have been done, and maybe it has, and it's just been a while, maybe you've had some turnover, I don't know, but I would want to do that, if that's an issue. I would obviously sit down with Mr. Fonte, and I guess go over these concerns, at least as it relates to one, and perhaps, a sit down and a policy review after I've reviewed it myself would be in order.
Great. Do you want to go to the second part?
Yeah, the second question is, what is your experience with reviewing present accounting practices, such as we described above?
Now, I kind of answered that, I think. I haven't had this issue.
You've already gone over the third question. Briefly describe how you would analyze and correct, if needed, any issues affecting city funds. So if appointed, do you have a timeline, say, for your first 100 days for establishing your review and recommendation analysis for the 5 departments?
I would say there is a timeline. I would establish a timeline to do this. There's no question of that. In fact, my timeline would involve meeting as many people as possible, not just the department heads. It would also involve a series of tours. I really find this helpful. It's one thing for me to drive around and, and gaze at stuff. It's another thing to be going on an escorted tour with someone from the police department, someone from the fire department, someone from DPW, someone from Parks and Rec. You have Parks and Rec, right, okay? And having that person, doesn't have to be the department head, but someone that's have a little experience working in the city, is showing me, this is an issue, this is a concern, this could be improved upon, there's no problem here. Just that, I learn a lot from the people. I mean, maybe they're not experts, but they certainly have experience, and it's important to get that information. That would be something that would be accomplished with less than 100 days, I would hope. I would say a couple of weeks. And again, meeting as many people as possible. You all, employees, consultants, any other communities that you have partnerships with, or in the local agreements, anybody, any higher level, county, state, any other authorities that you might belong to, you know, there'll be a lot of introductions in 100 days. So,
Thank you.
Fantastic. Last question that we always ask during interviews is, do you have any personal or business relationships with anybody in this chambers?
no.
Great.
Or neither do I have any with anybody that I see names here. I've talked to Vince a bunch of times, but that's the extent of it. I've actually never met him in person.
Fantastic. Council, any other questions you wanted to raise today?
I do have a follow-up. What is your experience with the HR side of the job description?
Well, that actually, where I am at today, that is assigned to the treasurer. But as I had mentioned, when we were looking for new treasurers, a lot of that fell upon me again. So I can't say it's extensive, but I can say that I've had that experience, and it would take some brush up, but I don't think it's something I can't learn. I would mention that it gives me a good segue, if you don't mind. I don't have an S2 license. I think I mentioned that in my cover letter. I'm certainly willing to get one. And just to brag a little bit, I'm a pretty smart guy. I don't think it's going to be a problem to pass the test and get that kind of a license. But I dovetail that because no one's going to know everything walking into this job. No one that you're interviewing is going to have every last moment and bit of information and knowledge and experience. But I don't think there's anything I can't learn or can't do. And some brush up or a seminar or two, or just some online searching or talking with the folks that used to do it, I think that's all that's necessary.
So how would you handle it if you had a disciplinary procedure that was required by policy, but you were being influenced by, say, members of council or by department heads or by other employees to not follow the procedure?
I would feel compelled to follow the procedure. The influence is unwelcome, and I would make that known. Discipline is usually done privately, as long as it has to be, as long as it can be, I should say. Praise is public, and discipline's private. That's kind of my view on it. And I haven't had to do a lot of discipline, to be quite frank with you. I have a good staff, and I have in the past, and it's not something that comes up too often, to be quite frank. It doesn't mean I'm magic. It just means that I hire good people to begin with.
Understood. Thank you.
Council, any further questions for Mr. Martin today? All right, well, Mr. Martin, we're really grateful for your time. Is there any other closing comments or questions you have for council today? And if not, we'll let you get on with your Friday evening.
I got to say to you all, I haven't worn a suit on a Friday in a really long time, let alone a tie. I had a couple of things here, if you don't mind.
Please.
Do we have time?
We do.
We have a few minutes. The unfunded pension liability, according to the state, this is from 2023, is 1.3 million, 1.03 million, I should say. Compared to a lot of neighboring communities, it's really pretty good. And you're in the 97th percentile in terms of pension health. But still, that million's got to be paid down in some fashion. Is there a plan for that? Has that happened? Has there been a discussion?
Yeah, I personally don't sit on the pension, and our finance director isn't here, so I'd love to take that as a follow-up, just so we get the right details to you. But council, if you have anything you'd like to share, please do so.
So historically, Jim Goris, several years ago, back through the 08, 09 era, was our mayor at the time, and he made some recommendations to the group to be pretty responsible when some of the other cities were not paying theirs. We used our excess funds to make payments into that at our current, or at our past government's direction. So that put us in a good position. But thanks for pointing it out, because it's one thing that we haven't sat together and brainstormed on for how we're going to consider that in our budget to continue to pay that down. So appreciate it.
Well, maybe we can all do that sometime in the future.
Great, thank you.
Not to be too optimistic. Secondly, I was looking through the newsletter that was on the website, and there's a piece in here about millage that was approved in 2021 for 2.5 mils, and looks like that'll be removed in 2026. Has, generally speaking, I don't expect a great detailed answer here, just simply because it's probably more of an engineering question, but have most of the issues been addressed that this millage was approved to fund?
Great question. Does somebody from the Infrastructure Advisory Committee want to speak to current progress and scope of projects?
Yeah, so that was particularly for water main in the DDA district, and yeah, it was actually over budgeted, and it was concluded at a fair savings of money that went back into the DDA to spend on some other projects. So yeah, that particular portion, but it was not part of a larger asset management plan. It was kind of a cherry-picked item to go for.
Just another comment there too, well said, Councilman Molnar. The 2 water main projects have been done recently. We did get funding of $1 million grant to support a 3rd water main project here in the near future. Roads are something that are in scope. 54% of our roads need structural improvement. So the Infrastructure Advisory Committee we have established is looking at all of that. As it relates to the savings that Councilman Molnar mentioned that go back to DDA, they have a prioritization of projects, HVAC system for our community center, roof for the building we're in currently, and others that they're working through active bid processes to address. So some good progress, but much more work to be done.
Is there a concern about lead service lines? Has that been largely addressed over the last few years, or is there still?
It's a great question. We got a grant for $400,000 to address lead line replacement, but part of that is obviously the inspection and the state requirements to meet those. So hats off to our DPW team who actually internalized a lot of those efforts. And obviously, Infrastructure Advisory Committee and Council have been actively discussing not only meeting the state deadlines, but then the ultimate replacement of the lead lines that are identified.
Is the, not to fire all the stuff off at you, but is the city a member of SEMCOG?
I'm sorry?
Is the city a member of SEMCOG?
I actually got elected to the executive committee there.
Oh, okay.
So I attend their meetings. I think there's another one, don't quote me on this, shortly, within the next week or so.
They meet quarterly,
Yeah.
yeah. I usually go too. Our president is the official designee, but I attend in her stead. Is there any, you mentioned about the roads, is there there's a PACER grant that can be applied? Did you do that already?
It's a complex topic.
Okay.
I think there's a combination of variables here. It's important for you to know this. We have 8 bridges in the city of Gibraltar.
Vince
Part of council advancements recently was to get bridge inspections updated. And then we have a grant for a Horse Island Bridge project. Now, I bring all that up because coupled with the bridges and the major and local road considerations and the funding, there's some interplay there. Depending on the outcome of the bridge, Horse Island, we're funding some money to make sure if it had to go to a higher level of spend, how that would impact the broader road projects we can do. So Infrastructure Advisory Committee is kind of within scope of both. And as we get more informed engineering decision on the Horse Island Bridge, we'll have a more informed understanding of spend and thus allocation for roads. The grant activity is a really good call. And SEMCOG's just been a great resource, in my opinion, for not only grant access on the roads, but broader projects and some of the cross-community collaboration that we have here downriver. So short answer is in scope, looking at every option. Funding is a limiting factor.
Your bridges are all owned by the city? All 8 of them? Or
Correct.
they're not, okay, I thought maybe some might be county-owned or something of that nature. That puts a lot of financial burden on you. As far as maintenance goes, it has to be, they have to be inspected every other year. if
We've,
I'm not
we've been,
mistaken.
yeah, we've been pushing heavily for funding. We're grateful for the grant on the Horse Island Bridge project. We did get the water, main for West Jefferson funded at the $1 million, but we also put forth Middle Gibraltar Bridge. It's critical because it's a main artery in and out. And the prior inspection report showed that it was in a need for addressing. So
That's the one I drove over to get here, I presume.
presumably, yes.
Okay, all right, I didn't swim.
Yeah.
I have some other printouts here, but I don't think I have to go through it. I think I have all my, I don't want to start asking questions about zoning right now. Is the DDA active?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And we're really proud of it, and the teams, Councilman Cox sits on our planning and DDA, and then I chair the DDA. You'll meet Billy Hutchinson potentially in this community, and he chairs our planning commission.
All right. All right, I'm not going to ask any more questions right now, except to what your timeline is, or your,
It's a great question. So we discussed with council, we have 4 interviews today. We'll have to discuss with council before we depart today on the 5th potential interview that was not available today. Our next council meeting is the 23rd, so I'd defer to council for any other input, but I'd love to converge our interview assessments on a potential discussion with council on the 23rd, which is our next formal council meeting. And then would look for council's directive coming out of that as to what next steps would be, and would be sure to be communicating with you accordingly.
and Vince is interim, so he's flexible?
We've been very lucky that Vince
Okay.
has stayed on longer than initially anticipated. But he's I would say, part-time consultant, right? Because we're looking for a future city administrator that is full-time and the point person for that.
Okay. All right. Well, gosh, thanks again for having me. I appreciate being here in front of you.
Yeah, council, anything you'd like to add to any of the last commentary?
No, the goal would be to make the appointment at the 23rd meeting, and then certainly we understand that people may have to give notice and before they actually fulfill the position. So we would be in dialogue in between now and the 23rd if we're going that direction.
Okay. All right. I'm sure you'll let me know either way.
Absolutely.
Mr. Martin, we really appreciate the time, and hope you have a great rest of your evening and a nice weekend ahead.
Thank you all have a good weekend.
Thank you, Ken. Nice meeting you.
I believe I saw our next applicant in the hall.
I agreed with her.
Council, are you ready for the next applicant coming?
Is there any way we can thin this out?
Yeah, I could read it next time, not a problem.
I'm not reading. I'm not-
Fine, no, it's fine.
No, it's fine. This right here, though, that's a rich Fonte right there, man.
I can read that, no
You have
problem.
to be a secretary to
Send
get
it.
through
wanna
that
switch
one.
me-
Good
you wanna
job,
switch me
Katie,
to
on
one
that.
question?
Yeah,
Because that was what your question
Yeah,
anyway, so
I can
I
take
didn't
it.
know which way you were going, so I'll
Yeah.
just take this one, you take that one.
perfect,
Okay.
not a problem.
Yeah, because you know what you wanted out of that question.
Do you want to switch up, or what?
No, you're fine where you're at, it's just Rob and I will.
Doesn't matter to me.
Who's coming in now?
Kristen.
Well, welcome to the chambers. You'll be our second interview of this evening. We have a total of 4. We've allocated 45 minutes for the interview. And we have a series of questions that we're going to ask. And we'll go basically across council, and each council member or department head will ask a question of you. Would you like to state your name to open?
I am Kristen Schumann Donnelly. Nice to see you all.
Fantastic. And that light is green in front of you, hopefully?
It is.
Fantastic. Councilman McNabb, do you want to start us off?
Yes, opening statement about themselves. What do you know about the city of Gibraltar?
What do I know about the city of Gibraltar? Well, I've been doing my research. It's part of my strong suit. I've lived in Gibraltar now for 5 years, and I've been participating online, watching council meetings and paying attention to some of the policies that are going through and different things that are happening in the city and different projects you guys have been working on and trying to work on. So I also operate the Gibraltar Gas Stock and Party Store and the Gibraltar Boatyard. So I'm very connected with the community and trying to provide customer service, quality customer service to them. I have been looking up lots of stuff. This is obviously, you're looking at my resume maybe and thinking, what is an exercise science professor doing here? I have a lot of professional skills that go beyond just being a teacher in a classroom, and I garner a lot of grant writing experience as well. I know that that's a big kind of bonus to the city when we can secure funds and kind of get after projects and do things like that. So in all honesty, I am seeing the landscape of higher education change, and I want to take my skill set and kind of take on a new challenge and get into a new realm. You know, I've been a professor now for 8 years. I've worked my way up. I gained promotion a few years ago, and unfortunately, my university is turning into a micro campus. So they are deleting a lot of jobs in higher ed. They're moving it to online, and I'm really looking to take my professional skill set and kind of expand. And I've always been a public servant to my students, to my colleagues, and I want to do the same for my city. So definitely been looking into the projects you guys have going and paying attention to those things. I know each council member kind of deals with a different committee and has a lot of knowledge that way, so I'm looking to learn a lot from you guys and kind of push that forward for our city.
Fantastic.
Okay, communication is key. How are you with asking for help or instructions if you are not comfortable with a task?
I'm sorry, can I just interrupt here for a second? Can you just speak up a little bit more into the
Sure.
microphone?
Is the green
Okay,
light on
thank
that mic?
you.
Yeah, it's on. Maybe if
Okay.
I just point it up, it'll be.
I want to make sure I get it all. Thank you, sorry.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Marcia.
Communication, when I need help, I have no problem at all. I actually work very interdepartmentally at my work. I work both in exercise science and health and human performance, but I also work with physical therapy and nursing and occupational therapy and physician's assistant. I'm no problem asking for help, especially if it's out of my wheelhouse, which again, I'm fully aware that this is not my background at all. But again, my professional skill set, I think, really does kind of transfer over. And I'm willing to learn, and it's one thing about me, I'm a lifelong learner. I was in school for a very long time. I gained my doctorate in 2017, so I've been asking for help for a lot of years in a lot of ways, learning new things, so no problem at all with that.
Thank you.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
When you are faced with limited resources, financial, human, or otherwise, how do you as a manager set priorities for use of the limited resources that you might have?
Good question. Most of the time when I have priorities, I start with a list. I'm a big list person. I have my own list of things. And then I determine what needs immediate attention, and I tend to go towards those things. If it's safety issue, if it's something that's really garnering some attention, those are usually high priority items. I try to timeline things also. I try to set stages for myself if I know that there's an ability to set a stage in a project. I think really abrupt things are more difficult, obviously, but never without asking for help and trying to utilize as many resources as you can. I personally teach, a normal teaching load for a professor is about 24 TCs or teaching credits, and I've been averaging about 55 for about 6 years. So I have no problem kind of prioritizing importance and delivering on that and making sure that I'm providing as much quality as I can. And, you know, bringing in outside help is never a bad idea. And asking for help, as Councilwoman Cosmore mentioned, you know, seeing what you can do with what you've got and just trying to plan and really kind of prioritize those things.
Thank you much.
Yeah.
Great. As administrator, how do you view your role in local government in comparison to the role of the elected officials?
Yeah, so I know from what I am understanding too and learning, the administrator really is a facilitator for the council and the mayor, and really a collaborator for all the departments. And again, that's going to come with a lot of knowledge gain and learning all those different kind of spaces that you're working in and operating in. So I think it's a little bit different because we kind of assist in what is presented to you, and then you guys obviously are making more of the decisions of that, but also presenting quality work and making sure that it's thorough so that you guys can make quality decisions as well. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Great, thanks for being here. Question number 5, in your role as administrator, who do you feel is the most important group, individual or individuals, or organization that you interact with?
That's a tough question. I think the community has a big voice. I think sometimes it doesn't get as represented as it should. So I do feel like the community members are a very important piece of the city government, and I think that is representative of the administrator and bringing their concerns and having concern for them. But I think everyone is equally as important as everybody else. I'm a big collaborator when I work. I don't take a stage above anybody or below anybody. In fact, I like to work with people to make sure that they're getting the outcome that they want to see too, and we're doing it the right way. I'm a very ethical person. I'm very dedicated to what I do. I don't like losing, and I don't like, not doing a good job. So I think I work hard at what I do, no matter what that is, whether that's, running the gas dock or teaching in a class. And I would do the same if I were the administrator.
Thank you. Councilwoman Wood, you want to take us to question number 6?
Okay, number 6. In your professional career, what do you find to have been the most rewarding aspects of your current/previous jobs, and the most rewarding aspects of the position you are applying for?
Good question. So in my career, probably one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done, and let me back up for a second just because I started off as a strength and conditioning coach, which is even more outside of the professional realm, but I did that for a lot of years. I garnered the director of strength and conditioning out at Idaho State. I was one of 3 women in the whole country to run a football program, and I was pretty proud of that. But more so, watching my student athletes kind of thrive and grow, and seeing a couple of them go on to professional league sports was really rewarding as well. Nowadays, it's more about seeing my kids graduate and seeing them move on into the world and take really good skills and really good learning with them and content. Watching them gain jobs and watching them thrive in their young lives. So that's probably the most rewarding thing. For this job, again, I want to help as much as I can. I want to help my city. I love Gibraltar. I've always loved Gibraltar. I actually, minus the 5 years I said I just moved here, I lived here 20 years ago, and I loved it then too. And moved away for a long time, obviously, to get an education and do all that. But I just want to be a facilitator for the city. I really want to participate more in the community, be a public servant. I've always been a servant leader. I've always worked for people under me, above me, and I want to do the same here.
Thank you.
Councilman Cox, you want to take us to question number 7?
Sure. Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
I think we know the answer to the first part of it, but it's a 2-part question. Do you have any experience with millage requests? And what do you feel are the most important aspects of a successful millage request campaign?
I do not have any experience with millage requests. I don't think that's any shock to anybody, but I have no problem learning about the process. Like I mentioned, I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning new things. I try to learn something new every day. And I have no problem learning all about the process. So with no experience, I unfortunately can't answer the rest of that question.
Thank you.
Any further questions there? Good. Councilman McNabb, you want to take us to question number 8?
Great. As a manager, you could potentially serve as the DPW director, the DDA director, on the pension board, HR director, benefit coordinator, interface with the planning commission, as well as perform a variety of other roles. How would you address the need for such diverse knowledge base to be effective or efficient and effective in all these roles?
I do think that's a handful, for sure. But again, I've been doing my research a little bit, and from my understanding, each of you have a little bit of a role with each committee. I'm also no stranger to committee work. I've done service to my university for a lot of years in various capacities on peer review committees and hiring promotion committees and different things like that. So I do think it takes some knowledge gain, some learning, and I'm not going to deny that at all during this interview. Obviously, again, this is outside of my wheelhouse, but I have no doubt and I have full faith in myself that I would spend the time individually learning each role. I know a little bit about budgeting. Obviously, financially, I run a business, and I know about HR because I've gone through the process many a time. I know how to hire, fire, train individuals. Again, some of the other committee work that I'm a little bit more unfamiliar with, I will spend some time gaining that knowledge and making sure that I am thorough in that. So that would be what I would do.
It's a lot there.
Great. Councilwoman Cosmore, do you want to flip questions with Councilman Molnar? Is that what I heard? Okay, cool. Why don't you take us then, Councilman Molnar, to the next question, then Councilwoman Cosmore, I'll get back to you.
In this position, you may be dealing with multiple outsourced city departments. For example, our assessor, our building department, our planning department, engineering, and legal are all outsourced to vendors outside of this office. But in the eyes of the citizen, they are all the city, as we all are all the city. What is your approach to the citizen and to the out-of-office vendors performing their respective scope of work to ensure that the request is getting properly addressed and communication stays up to date between the citizen and the city?
Well, that's basic communication, right? Like, I want to meet the vendors, obviously. I want to have them know who I am and what my role is now, if that's so be. And then, again, communicating with the community and the citizens personally. I have no problem dealing with challenging issues sometimes. I think it's more of how you handle it, going down to facts and speaking truths and doing your best to be thorough in those spaces. So definitely need to make some relationships, both with vendors and citizens, and be representative of the city as a whole.
So, and to follow up on that a little, I know on one of them you had mentioned that you're a big keeper of lists. And is there any type of list type of protocol that could be put in place that would ensure that things didn't get lost in the process?
Oh, I'm sure we could create many a list with what I'm going to have to take on. Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I'm very good at organizing. I play a lot of roles even in my current role. Not only am I a professor, but I'm also an advisor. I'm also a mentor. I'm also a committee member. I'm a different things. So yeah, it takes just some separation of duties and being able to kind of manage those things equally and effectively and with quality help if you need it, you know. And I know that that's kind of the roles that you all play on different committees as well. So again, a lot of communication, a lot of kind of getting in there and figuring out what actually needs to happen and what role I do play, you know, in those spaces. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. I know you took the time to prepare for the interview. Is there anything that you are expecting us to ask and we did not?
You see the typical interview questions, right? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? But no, I mean, you know, I did prepare, and again, I fully aware that this is a new thing for me, but I can honestly say that I can see a lot of transfer happening even already. In my preparations, I have already started seeking out grants. I've already looked at the DDA, I've already looked at the DPW and the structure of it as best I can, understanding kind of the different pathways that the administrator plays, not only being the DPW director, but all the things that Art mentioned, the HR and all that stuff. So again, I know it's a very large skill set, but I truly feel like I'm fully capable of taking it on.
Great. Katie, do you want to take us to Treasurer Fonte's question? Is there still a sheet of paper in front of you on that podium?
It's folded up.
Yeah, so that's going to just be for your reference. It's a longer question that we received from our treasurer, and so we wanted to make sure you had a reference visually while Katie reads it to you.
Yeah, our treasurer couldn't be here tonight, but he submitted a question that he would like to be asked. So I'm going to read that question on his behalf. As the city's recently appointed treasurer and custodian of the city funds and accounts, we have recognized the importance that the city administrator responsibility to ensure that all 5 departments under your direct management to follow the disciplines and processes outlined in our purchasing and credit card policies, as well as the city employee employment policy. All too often, department heads and others affected by these policies for various reasons will test the waters by ignoring these processes and procedures. This forces administrative staffs of accounts payable, payroll, and others to process their paperwork and prepare the checks for co-signing without all the required backup documentation essential for the check co-signers to execute the checks, and/or release of payments, payroll via the ACH method. The staff does this for fear of being late in the payment processing, or perhaps there may be other influences that may make the push for the payment, even though all the approval processes and procedures have not been completed. So he's got a four-parter question here. And the first question is, what disciplines, processes, internal controls, and management style would you practice, ensuring the taxpayers that this won't happen under your administration, no matter what the department managers lack with the appropriate approval processes, or the influence of the prevailing political climate is or will be in the future?
So starting with that first one, I know in my experiences, we've always worked under a PO system or a reimbursement system. So again, without being inside of the city and having the knowledge yet, I don't know what is happening other than people just using and then kind of turning stuff in and hoping for the best. But PO systems aren't that hard to install. Putting them in there, making people do requisitions for different purchases depending on the price and cost of them, especially if they're large and they need to be approved first. I don't think it would be a hard change. I don't think it would be that much of a backlash of that. I understand there's day-to-day purchasing as well. I think that just needs to be an understanding and a agreement, a contract between the department and the administrator to understand what they're actually going to do on a daily basis, and then having that follow-up, having that turning things in a timely manner, not 5 days later or whenever they want or whatever. So definitely more of a policy type thing where you could create a policy to have a certain set of rules as far as purchasing goes, and then having just an overall encapsulating maybe eventually a PO system or a reimbursement system set in place and held to, and again, that takes a little bit of authority to make those rule changes, and again, hopefully that would be supported. I would assume that it might be.
So I'm going to read two more questions on here. You did a good job at answering them, but I'm going to ask them in case you want to elaborate a little more.
Sure.
What is your experience with reviewing present accounting practices such as described above?
Yeah, so I currently am we have an external accountant, but I am the bookkeeper for the Gibraltar Gas Stock and Party Store. I'm also the bookkeeper for IMRD's property maintenance business as well. So taking care of the accounting, the expenses, the income, all that stuff is a day-to-day for me. And then I do work with an external accountant as well that obviously kind of manages all of the things once we're there. So at work, at my job, we work under a reimbursement system, and if they're large purchases, we have to do purchasing orders to be able to do that. So I'm very familiar with it.
And briefly describe how you would analyze and correct, if needed, any issues affecting city funds.
Well, first I would, again, do my research and make sure that I'm correct in what I'm reading, and I would probably talk to whoever the department head was in that space and figure out exactly what's happening. I'm a big accountability person. I get that from my coaching days with my student athletes. So I would expect that if we had an agreement or if I asked you for proof of something, that you would be able to provide that to me. So that would be something that would help analyze and correct it. And then after that, decision-making kind of gets in there and we figure out how to control that and how to not allow those things to happen.
And number 4 on his question is, if appointed, do you have a timeline, say for your first 100 days, for establishing your review and recommendation analysis over those 5 departments?
One of the questions that I'm going to have for you guys, and I can throw it out there now, but I can also ask it later, is what are the priorities, right? Is that a major priority? And if it is, which I think it is because you guys have spoken to it a few times, that would be a priority in those first 100 days, absolutely.
Amazing. Last question we had for structure, we ask every candidate, do you have any personal or business relationships with anybody in this chambers?
I do. Rob and I pay a rent fee to Rob in the Gibraltar Boatyard for the Gibraltar Gas Stock and Party Store. But other than that, we are two separate entities. We have our own employees, we have our own DBA, my husband and I are an LLC. But yes, I do.
Awesome, thank you. Council, any additional questions you'd like to ask our applicant today?
I'd like to ask
Yeah.
that same HR question.
Yeah,
I know
please.
we talked briefly about it in one of the other questions, and you offered up some of the experience with the HR that you do at the gas stocks. In this job, there is, you would be the chief HR person for all the employees of the city. What experience do you have with being in that role? And then, second question to it is, if you ever had to go through a disciplinary process with an employee, how would you insulate yourselves from influence from other people, be it a department head or a council member or anything of that nature?
Sure. My HR experience is obviously very limited as well. With the employees at the gas stock, I mean, I've filed paperwork with the state. I've done things as far as setting up their payroll through a payroll system. I've done things that way. They're not benefit employees, so I don't deal with that with them. But I have done my own work and my own experience as a professional with HR and doing my setting up of things and working with them. So I have those experiences. Second part to the question.
Second part to the question is if you have to go through a disciplinary
I
proceeding.
hold them off. Yeah, I think having good boundaries is also a good professional skill, right? So we want to all collaborate and we all want to have the same outcomes sometimes, and sometimes we have different viewpoints. So I think having just a reason for why you're doing things, making sure that you can back up those reasons, and that comes with accountability and that proof that I was asking about earlier. We can't just assume something's happening with no proof, right? So if we have proof and we have a reason, then we don't have to worry about being kind of slighted by somebody or influenced by somebody. And I think that that is part of maybe the lack of control that is happening. Maybe there's not somebody to have that kind of oversight, and maybe that's exactly what we need.
Thank you.
Love it. Council, any other questions for me? If not, I think you mentioned you have some questions for us, so
I
we
do.
are all ears unless council anything else. Please, fire away.
Yeah, I have been looking into this, and I was apprehensive at first. Obviously, again, I'm sure there's people with public administration degrees or experience that are coming in here. But I just want to hear from you guys, and hopefully individually and equally, what makes someone successful in this position? What are you guys looking for somebody to be successful here and to not have just the attrition that's happened?
We're looking for
Counsel,
someone
do you
to
wanna
take the
start?
lead in our city as a manager with no compromise. That's what we're looking for. Someone who can stay and work in the city for a good period of time, we can look up to and trust.
Yeah, and I think we also need somebody who has that knows infrastructure, who knows, the way the streets works, the water works, all that type of things. Besides doing the HR, besides doing those other things, I think we really need somebody with a strong background with knowledge of that, like the DPW, because, it's a small town, that's what a lot of the work that we're doing. So,
I'm glad you asked that question. I had a paper here somewhere that has something on it, but I can't find it at the moment. So I'm going to shoot from the hip here. That was one of the things that I had said way back when, is that the biggest key that we need in a city administrator is for somebody to say to the resident that comes up to the counter, "How can I help you?" and mean it. And so that the person that we want in this position is somebody who has the fortitude to be firm and take control, be a manager, be the HR person, but be loyal to the community and be here for a while. But by far the biggest thing when a resident comes in, to be able to say, "How can I help you?" and truly, truly mean it.
Katie, do you want to share your perspective on the question?
Yeah, I would agree with Marcia. Some experience with the roads and the administrator position, or a government position in some aspect, and leadership skills as well, I think is super important, like Rob said, and communication.
We're so small that it's kind of like you got to do everything, you know? Because there's not a big staff.
I echo everything that's been said so far. I think we, as a newer administration, 9 months plus working together, have lacked continuity in this position, right, full-time. We've been lucky to have Vince as a part-time or now consultant capacity. I would say 100% everything everybody said. Communication and transparency, greeting our residents, following up with our residents and commitments that are made. I think number 2 is kind of related to that, like accountability and execution. I mean, we need somebody that's day-to-day overseeing operations based on council direction, and pulling through on policy and decisions that are made in this chambers, in addition to managing the office each day, right? Because we have a lot of department heads and a lot of HR responsibilities that person would have to cover. I think 3 is obviously like, say, critical conversation management, time management, which kind of relates to 1 and 2. I would say a bigger picture, like as far as beyond those themes or principles of operation, expertise in relevant areas, as they've highlighted, right? We have an infrastructure opportunity in front of us that needs to be addressed. Well, we need budget to always be prospective and long-term position aligned with needs. Expertise in areas that are hot topics in this city, beyond infrastructure. So I think it's a combination of like operating principles we described, a leader day-to-day in the office under the direction of those in this chambers that are voting members, and then relevant expertise in areas that align to our city need.
Thank you.
Dorothy, anything you'd like to add?
No, I agree with everything that everybody's saying down the line. Communication is really key here. I mean, our residents really appreciate somebody standing and actually talking to them and not just, kind of blowing them off. We've had some issues in the past, and it's a very big deal to our residents. It's a very close community, and they expect that, So I just agree with everybody else. I think that's important.
Councilman Cox, closer.
Gonna be cliche, okay? Strong leader, right? Good communication skills. Somebody that can lead the pack in the right direction respectfully, right? Those are key things. We all work hard. This position is gonna require a hard work ethic, right? But the skill set is leadership mainly to make sure that we move in the right direction.
Thank you.
Well said, everybody.
If I can just kind of feedback to you guys.
Yeah, please.
So my background is started in strength and conditioning, and one of my biggest and best things that I've ever done was set accountability for not only myself, but my student athletes, and I would expect the same even in my student population. I do it with my colleagues. I do it interdepartmentally at my work. I have no problem dealing with people and being a leader in those roles. I also have no problem holding to my guns too and doing what's right for the better of all. So again, I know that's a fine line to walk, but I'm willing to do that. I'm very dedicated to Gibraltar. I'm not going anywhere. So I don't know if that plays a big role, but I am very loyal to the city. My children go to Parsons. They're going to graduate Marauders, and I have no plan on going anywhere. Again, I know we're a small community with a lot of hats, as Marcia mentioned, and I'm a faculty of 1, and that's why I teach 55 credit hours a year. So I have 2 colleagues that teach in athletic training, but I teach the entire curriculum for exercise science at Concordia University. I have 64 students, so I deal with a lot all at once, and I have no problem kind of compartmentalizing my job and my life and my work, and I still get to come home and be a mom to my kids. So the day-to-day having accountability, I have no problem with that either. That's something that I thrive on, actually. I like rules. I like having rules. I like enforcing those rules when necessary, but I also like making really good relationships with people as well. I like to be nice and have fun at times as well. I also like to be serious when we need to be serious and make sure that the job gets done. Obviously, being respectful and getting, some relationships going is going to be number 1 for me, I think. As far as the operational part, the infrastructure part, obviously, that is where I need the most help. But from my understanding, there's also professional development available, there's training, there's certifications. I've already looked into the S2 water certification exam. So I know that there's a lot still to learn, but I know that there are steps that can be taken to learn those things. So I hope that's taken into consideration as well.
Appreciate that.
My other question is, what's kind of the next step for you guys? Is today it for you, and then you move right in, or kind of what's going to happen with this whole situation?
Yeah, we have, your candidate number 2 we're interviewing. There's 2 more after you today. There's a 5th candidate that was unavailable to be here today, so we're going to lean on council to schedule that as they please. We have a council meeting next one on the 23rd, and that's where we looking to make a appointment, which would be driven by council's motion. So I would say you'd hear from council and our team prior to the 23rd, and 23rd would be a decision point, hopefully, for council.
And when are you guys looking for this person to begin?
Again, it's up to council and obviously the candidate themselves and their timeline. But we have a consultant in place now. We need a full-time leader, a city administrator, sooner than later. So I'm sure it's more of a ASAP discussion, but council, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think that from my perspective, expediency is important, but it's not worth, overruling the patience that we've practiced thus far. We do not want to kick the can, but we understand that everybody applying for this position probably has current obligations that they're part of. So what we will do between now and the 23rd is kind of put a ranking of what we want, who we want to move forward with, and then from there reaching out and talking salary considerations and also timeline considerations, and those will go into our decision-making processes that we hope to have something in place to where we can recommend for full approval on the 23rd.
Great. Thank you. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate it. I just appreciate even being asked to interview. So I really hope that, some of my skills will show that I can kind of take over and be that person for you guys. I know that I am sometimes on the quiet side. You asked me to speak up a little bit, but I promise that I have some leadership skills that can really emerge, and I have no problem doing that once I kind of get my fingers in there. So I appreciate your time and all the work you guys do. I know it's not an easy job, and you do it every week, so I appreciate that. So thank you.
We appreciate you putting yourself forth. Thank you so much. Council, our next candidate is scheduled for 10 minutes from now. Do y'all want to take a quick bio break, or? Okay, do we need a motion for that, Katie, or is it
Yeah, let's do it.
maybe a motion to return at 5:30, just so we're?
Motion.
A motion by Councilman Cosner, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Miller. Thank you so much.
Roll call.
Thank you.
Yeah, Katie, whenever you're ready for roll.
Osmer?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Mulner?
Yes.
Schumate?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
All right, we'll see you back here in 9 minutes.
Cameras and mics are still rolling.
Cool, thank you. Everybody still like the flow?
So we only have 3 tonight? 4? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna do short.
Niagara Falls.
Is that free in there, Art?
You don't want to bring that. Yeah.
This is no place for a nervous person.
Good things come to people that wait.
Did you have a good day, Art?
Yes. Very colorful day. Yeah. I got up and did a bunch of stuff this morning and then got started around 10 o'clock up there, I think it was.
You want to go to the football game afterwards? Or you
Was
got
that
stuff-
tonight?
7 o'clock up in
I'm
the
supposed to meet with somebody, but yeah.
So you're tonight.
They're at Carlson?
Yeah,
Oh,
they're ranked 22nd in the state right now.
really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Wow.
they got a good squad.
Yeah, you last year, they really good. Yeah, I was thinking about going up there tonight.
I'm supposed to meet up with my sister Emily.
Bring her up to the game.
Yeah.
I'll buy a $5 slice of pizza.
But now, don't you have to hit the prepay before you go in? I don't think you can pay cash at the gates anymore.
I just jumped the fence.
I haven't been to a game in years.
They never let me pay when
I have a pass, like I left the school board, they gave me like that
Yeah,
lifetime pass.
sure, I write enough checks.
The Bandorama's tomorrow, I mean, not Bandorama, but Spectacular's tomorrow. for the band.
Where's that at?
It's a football field at 3 o'clock. I'm telling you what, you want to see some good bands.
Well, they did when they were in the parade this year, they were fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Brock, he's awesome.
Yeah.
They seem to
Band
have,
leader.
they seem to have a lot going for them.
Oh, yeah.
Cheerleading, the whole,
We do. Our
everything, I
schools
mean, everything
do
about
really
it.
good stuff.
They even got a hockey team. I remember when I was in high school, I would dream to have been playing hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we were in Brownstown, we could have, but never had a hockey team.
Well, yeah, they've got everything now, and I love it. They got like the fishing club now, and
Oh, they got, yeah, I see that. That's cool.
Yeah, it
And they
is
do some
cool.
traveling,
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Got a good area to practice.
What are we talking
What about you?
I don't like how that's turning around down, I'll tell you that.
We're talking about Carlson High School.
Good ball game tonight.
Yeah. Who you root for?
Well, I'd like to sit in the backyard and hear the whole game.
Yeah. I love hearing that PA.
Yep.
Rick, this morning I stenciled out a Carlson logo that I'm imprinting on the basketball court.
Right.
Now he's with a little utility knife.
So this question is a two-part
Oh, my
question.
goodness.
I'm to
Yeah,
ask
it's-
them about
it's got the skull
themselves
and
and then do
crossbones.
that, or?
Yeah, have them tell a little bit about themselves,
Okay,
and then
and
what
then-
it is.
yeah. Okay, I see it now. I didn't look at
Oh,
it.
I spent 2 hours.
Never a scholar.
When are we applying the
I thought you
paint?
might have missed that when you were talking. You used
I
that
got to do
first part.
there's 3 colors associated with it. I'm using the blue background color as the 4th color, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of paint probably tomorrow, probably Sunday. Tomorrow's spoken for.
Right.
But probably a little bit Sunday, and then I'll have to wait till it dries, and then I'll have to mask over top of that. And then I'll have to do another color the next day. Wait till that dries, mask over that.
You got good weather for your particular application.
Yeah,
It's gonna look great.
pretty neat, yeah. I was fortunate that Craig Blankenship over at CV Asphalt, he has a vinyl printer and was able to print me out a stencil from just a PDF file that I sent him, and it cuts out everything on the vinyl, then you apply it to masking tape, peel that off, and then you set it on the curtain, and you can just utility knife it out, so your stencil's built. So, yeah, pretty fortunate. Yeah, yeah, very simple.
It's always cold in here.
I always bring a jacket here.
Yeah, it's like progressively.
Always bring my jacket.
Get stuff done.
That's awesome. All right, we are 1 minute ahead of schedule, perhaps since we have everybody here. We'd be looking for a motion to return to the special meeting.
Make a
Motion.
motion to return.
Second.
Second by Cox. Katie, please call roll.
McNabb.
Here.
Mulnar.
Here.
Schumate.
Here.
Wood.
Here,
Cox.
Say yes?
yes?
Osmore.
All right, well, we are on to interview number 3. Mr. Blackburn has joined us here in the chamber. So, Mr. Blackburn, if you could just approach the podium, make sure that light is green for us.
Yes, it is.
Also, make sure there's a sheet of paper there in front of you that we'll refer to later.
Okay.
And if you want to state your name in the mic, we will then go ahead and ask you a series of questions. And before we close, we'll give you an opportunity to ask any questions of us.
All right, my name is Michael Blackburn.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here this evening on a Friday.
Thank you for having me.
Councilman McNabb, do you want to kick us off with question number 1?
Michael, opening statement, can you tell us anything about yourself?
I just recently retired from the city of Dearborn Heights. I was there a little over 30 years. Spent my whole career in the Department of Public Works. I have vast knowledge of city processes, city procedures. It doesn't matter if it's a bigger city or if it's a smaller city. There's just little tweaks here and there depending on the city. Every city operates a little bit differently. My mom worked for the city of Dearborn Heights also for 34 years, so growing up, my family's always been in public service. I like helping the residents and making the community the best it can.
What do you know about Gibraltar?
Gibraltar's roughly about 4.4 square miles. It's got 2020 census is right around 5,000. I'm assuming you're a little over 5,000 residents now. A budget about $12 million, roughly. It's a nice, small community.
Thank you.
Okay. You know, communication is key. So how are you with asking for help or instructions if you're not comfortable with a task?
You are always asking somebody, somebody always needs help. My philosophy is it takes a village. Not one person is an expert on everything. Sometimes you have to ask other department heads, other workers for help on certain tasks, depending on the task and the nature of it.
Fantastic.
Hi, Mike. When you are faced with limited resources, financial, human resources, and otherwise, how do you as a manager set priorities for use of those limited resources that you have?
I think every governmental entity has limited financial and human resources. There's just not enough employees around. You have to prioritize, and prioritization can change day to day. But the first priority is safety of the residents, whether it's water, sewer, snow. Those things are important that need to be addressed. Then what are the residents talking about? What is their major concerns? If 100 people are talking about a certain problem, but 3 people are talking about another problem, you want to take those 100 people and look at that problem and see what what their concerns are, so as a city, you can address those concerns. It's safety first, and then what is the greater good of the city next.
All right, as administrator, how do you view your role in local government in comparison to the role of the elected officials?
At the end of the day, I have to report to you. As elected officials, you are governed by the residents. If the residents don't like the job they do, they vote you out of office. My job as a city administrator will be to give you as much knowledge as you can to make the decision that needs to be made. Because if I don't do my job, they'll go blame you. And that's not a good look, because if I fail, you fail, everybody under me would fail, and I'm not for failure.
Thank you.
Question number 5 for you this evening is, in your role as our potential administrator, who do you feel is the most important group, individual or individuals, or organization that you would interact with?
The most important group is the residents, because that's who we work for. Technically, the residents are our bosses. If they don't like the job we do, they fire us, vote us out of office. Vote you out of office. If I don't do my job, you as a body could fire me and let me go for not doing my job. Then second would be the employees. The employees are just as important, because you need a good staff around you and people willing to do the work. If they're treated properly, they're going to do the work and go above and beyond and really make you look good. If my employees make me look good, then I'm making you look good, and then the residents look good, and the residents are happy with the city. They want to stay. They don't want to move out. They want to, their kids become of age. They may want to buy a house in Gibraltar and stay close because it's a good community.
Thank you so much. Councilwoman Wood, question number 6.
Okay, in your professional career, what do you find to have been the most rewarding aspects of your current/previous jobs, and then most rewarding aspects of the position you are applying for?
They're kind of both the same. It's helping the residents. When you solve resident problems, they're happy, and that's what you want. You want your residents to be happy. I don't know how many times on social media I'm sitting at home and I'll get a message, high water bills. That's usually a major concern, high water bills. And I talk to people off the clock, on the clock. I run into them at the store. I tell them how to check for water leaks, anything I can do to help. If it's not in my previous role, if it wasn't a department I was in, I would relay the information to the supervisors of that department and have them look into it.
Thank you.
Okay. Ready? Councilman Cox, do you want to take us to question number 7?
Do you have any experience with millage requests?
We did 21 years ago ask for a Headley override. I was involved in helping inform the residents of the Headley override for the millages for the city.
What do you feel are important aspects to request a successful millage campaign?
Honesty. It's getting the word out of why. Not try to hide something, not trying to throw anything, on the side. Don't make people guess. The residents want to know what they're voting for. If they know what they're voting for and they agree with what it is, it's easier to pass. This is instead of saying, we just want a millage, but we're not gonna tell you what we're gonna spend the money on, no one's gonna pass it. But if you say, we wanna do this, 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 and this is how much it's gonna cost you extra per year, this is when it starts, this is when it ends, they are more likely to vote for it. And it's just being honest with the residents about it. That's the best policy I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman McNabb, we're going to come back to you for question number 8.
Manager, excuse me, the manager potentially serve as a DPW director, DDA director, on the pension board, HR director, benefit coordinator, interfaces with the planning commission, as well as performs a variety of roles. How would you address the need in such diverse knowledge base to be effective and efficient in all these roles?
I have knowledge of most of those items. Certain roles I do not have a lot of knowledge in, but I am a quick learner. I do a lot of research. It's not hard for me as a learner to pick up on things. And if it takes 10, 12, 14-hour days to do everything, that's what it takes to do everything. I'm just not committed to 8 hours. When my kids were younger, they didn't see much of me.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cosmore and Councilman Molnar, do you want to switch your approach just like you did for the last one?
Yeah. Like in this position, you may be dealing with multiple outsourced city departments. So for example, our assessor, our building department, our planning department, our engineering department, and our legal department are all outside of this office. In the eyes of the citizens, they are all simply the city. What is your approach to the citizen and to the out-of-office vendors performing their respective scope of works to ensure that the requests that go to those departments are handled in a timely fashion?
I would require those vendors to process those requests as much as humanly possible and for the betterment of the residents. If a vendor is not performing up to what I would consider standards or what your standards would be, we would look at seeing when the contract is up and possibly going out for a new vendor and go through the bidding process. And if that vendor is on there, but they didn't do the work last time, I have no problem not recommending them. We all have a job to do. We all report to residents as our boss. And when they want, if there's a building permit, the builder's not gonna wait. You know, somebody wants their house built, somebody wants their house remodeled. Time is money and money is time. They need to process it. There's no reason why stuff should have to wait and wait. If somebody's on vacation, it should go to somebody else in that office. I'm sure they have more than one person that can handle those requests.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Now, I know you took the time to prepare for this interview. Is there anything that you were expecting us to ask and we did not?
Usually, management style.
Yes, so tell us about yours.
My management, I'm firm, but I'm fair. If I tell a subordinate to do a task, I expect that task to be done. But on the other hand, I'm fair too. If they're having a personal issue, a medical issue, if something's not, and they need a little extra time, then I'm fine with that. I'm not a dictator, I'm fair. The DPW workers, if it's 98 degrees outside, I may have them come in and do something else for part of the afternoon so you don't get heat stroke. You don't need employees in the hospital either, because then you don't get anything done.
All right. Katie, do you want to take us through Treasurer Fonte's question? And then in front of you, that sheet of paper I referenced at the opening is just a reference because it's a larger, longer question. So that way you have a visual in front of you as well.
Yeah, this question's from our city treasurer, who couldn't be here tonight, but he wanted to ask this question, so I'm going to read it for him. As the city's recently appointed treasurer and custodian of the city funds and accounts, we've recognized the importance, the city administrator responsibility to ensure that all 5 departments under your direct management to follow the disciplines and processes outlined in our purchasing and credit card policies and city employee employment policy. All too often, department heads and others affected by these policies for various reasons will test the waters by ignoring these processes and procedures. This forces administrative staffs of accounts payable, payroll, and others to process their paperwork and prepare checks for co-signing without all the required backup documentation essential for the check co-signers to execute the checks and/or the release of payments or payroll via the ACH method. The staff does this for fear of being late in payment processing, or perhaps there may be other influences that may make the push for payment, even though all the approval processes and procedures have not been completed. Question 1, it's a 4-part question. What disciplines, processes, internal controls, and management style do you practice, ensuring the taxpayers that this won't happen under your administration, no matter what the department managers lack with the appropriate approval processes, or the influence of the prevailing political climate is or will be in the future?
Well, I hope the department managers are not trying to squeak stuff by. If it does not have proper attachments, it doesn't get paid. Vendors will have to wait if they don't get paid. Nobody in the office should have to be pressured to force a payment through without all the proper backup. Because at the end of the day, the backup is needed to make sure that everything is on the up and up. And when the audit is done every year, all that backup paperwork has to be there. If a department manager is consistent at doing it, that department manager would have to be retrained and/or relieved of duty if he cannot follow procedures. The procedures are in place for a while. Sorry. Everything's paid for by tax money, which is the residents' money. They want to know where every dollar went and that it is spent wisely, efficiently, and honestly. And if you don't have the backup paperwork, then it doesn't get paid. It sits. I'm not going to force anybody to rush anything through without the proper paperwork.
Thank you. Question 2 on that is, what is your experience with reviewing present accounting practices such as described above?
Well, in my previous role, I have used vendors and stuff, and I have had to get POs and write requisitions and submit invoices for payment. And I made sure that I had all the proper attached paperwork so the vendor would get paid on a timely basis. If you get to a point where you're not paying vendors on a timely basis, they stop wanting to do work for you. So that's why it's key in the first question to make sure everything's done in a timely fashion, all the paperwork's done in a timely fashion, is if you have a good vendor, you want to pay them on a regular basis, on a consistent basis, when it's due, to keep them, because sometimes it's hard to find good vendors out there nowadays.
Briefly describe how you would analyze and correct, if needed, any issues affecting city funds.
Going back, if the proper paperwork's not there, why is it not there? Why are you telling the office staff to put this payment through when you don't have the proper paperwork? Where is it? Was the job completed? And that's the major thing. Is the job completed before you submit the invoice for payment? A lot of times some vendors try to submit invoices for partial payment. I'm not sure how Gibraltar works, but we didn't do partial payment. We didn't pay half up front and then half when the job was completed. Did the vendor do the work? Was it completed? Is it right? Was it inspected? And is all the proper invoices, attachments with the invoice and everything else properly submitted for payment?
Thank you. And lastly, if appointed, do you have a timeline, say for your first 100 days, for establishing your review and recommendation analysis over the 5 departments?
If I was to be appointed, I would talk to everybody, talk to the department managers, talk to the clerical staff, talk to the custodian, find out what they like, what they don't like. I would tour the city, parks, buildings, get a whole overlay of what is needed, because if I talk to the Parks and Recreation manager about certain things that they may need or want, let's go out, let's take a look. How does it fall in the list of priorities? How does it fall in the master plan? There's a lot of things that have to go into it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Last question is, do you have any personal or business relationships with anybody in this chambers?
No.
Great. And council, any other questions you'd like to add?
I'd like to ask the follow-up on HR question, and I guess what type of experience do you have in managing direct employees through the HR perspective, I guess? That's the first question.
In my previous position, I did interview prospective employees. Matter of fact, there's another city where they have asked me a few times to do civil service interviews with a number of prospective employees to create a civil service list. So I've been in the interview process in other cities also.
Follow up to that, if you're in a scenario where you have to follow a policy and discipline an employee, how do you insulate yourself from influence by department heads and/or elected officials?
I would hope elected officials don't know about any personnel issues. Those are private matters. With all due respect, if an elected official did come, I would tell you that was not in your purview, and to let the administration handle personnel issues, because that's where it belongs.
Thank you. And I did want to follow back up on question 4, if you don't mind. And on question 4, the question was, as an administrator, how do you view your role in local government in comparison to the role of elected officials? And in your response, you had mentioned that your job is to give us the information to make the decision that we have up here. So my question is, if you advise on a particular direction and we elect not to take that advice and go a different direction on the issue, how do you handle that?
The only thing I would be able to do is give you my opinion. You can take it or you cannot take it. I will hold no hard feelings if you do not follow my suggestion. I would hope that you would, but if you didn't, it is what it is. Everybody has different backgrounds, they have different experiences. And me being new to the city, there may have been, let's say, going out for bids. There may have been a vendor that did not perform well for you in the past, and you won't accept that vendor's bid for a contract. And we just go on with the choice that you make. At the end of the day, it'll be your decision, and you have to report back to the residents. So I would hope that the board would make a logical decision in the matter.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from council? And if not, the floor is yours for any questions or comments you might have for us.
Okay. Does the city have a seat on the board for GLEWA at all?
A seat on the board for Gleba?
Yeah.
No, not that I'm aware of.
No. What about the Southern Huron Valley Wastewater?
Yeah, I'm a representative on that, and our alternate representative is Bill Kane, who's our fire chief, but also our DPW foreman.
Okay. Yeah, I see on the board that you have some projects that are completed, some that are in progress. What infrastructure goals are you looking at in the near future as far as whether it's water main? I see sewer lining on there. And facilities, do you need HVAC? Do you have roofing? Do you have remodeling because you want to move offices?
Yeah, well said. A lot of what you just listed, I'll just say a few things, but you have some members of our Infrastructure Advisory Committee here. So we've recently done 2 water main projects within this timeline of the administration in front of you. We got a grant for additional water main project. We've done some sewer lining work, but previous administrations had done some sewer lining work. And as somebody who sits on SHUVA, we got a nice look back report and a check for the city of Gibraltar back based on a reduction in our percent of utilization as a part of the SHUVA board. We do have a lot of work that's ongoing in the roof for this building, the HVAC system for the Talbert building, our community center, amongst other projects in progress, active bidding processes. But Councilman Cox, Councilman Molnar, do you want to add anything about an Infrastructure Advisory Committee perspective?
No, just, as the mayor mentioned, there's several projects in the books and progressing to start, to receive the bids and to implement those projects. A unique thing of our community is we own 8 bridges, okay? So there's a lot of infrastructure, moving parts within our community that have to be observed and watched effectively. And so, yes, we have projects that we need done. We've addressed projects that we're currently trying to perform, and that will continue.
It's one comment, and I'll turn over to anybody else. I know Vince, who was our interim city administrator and now is serving us in kind of a part-time consulting capacity as we look for our future city administrator. One of the goals council had given him was to kind of calendarize a 5-year financial forecast with a specific lens of infrastructure capability and spend. So as Councilman Cox mentioned, we have 8 bridges. We have a grant for one of those bridges. There's an interrelationship between the bridge expense potential and the major and local road allocations. Roads are a huge need for our community amongst some of the underlying infrastructure. So a lot of work being done on the prioritization and the tie to financial forecast to get to work on those projects. But Councilman Molnar, do you have anything to add on the infrastructure front?
No, sir.
Anybody else have anything to add there? So work has been done, prioritization is ongoing, and there's much more work to be done. And I think we'll have a good plan for that, according to our Infrastructure Advisory Committee.
Okay. I see that the finding out of the lead line services is in progress right now. How far along is that? Have you found any?
Yes.
Some communities, I was surprised, didn't have any. Some had a lot. We had a lot more than what we had on record.
Well said. So we, a couple comments there. Yes, it's ongoing. We actually internalized some of the efforts in discussion with Eagle. We ended up having our DPW team drive randomized inspections as a part of the inspection process. We have found several. The grant we received was for $400,000, which assumed 30-plus lead lines needing to be replaced. Our DPW team is inventorying all the data on what they're finding. We also have a QR code for our residents so that the in-house photos and documentation can be handled by the resident if it's not handled by our DPW teams directly. And then obviously, after we've identified, inspected, and met those components of the state deadlines, the ongoing work to actually replace those that have been identified will be the next step in our path.
Yeah, I know the state deadline's coming up here really soon.
Yeah, I think we've done a good job in not only reporting, but staying in touch with our, Eagle and other parties to make sure we're abiding by the documentation requirements and the communication deadlines.
Okay. And do you have an HVAC vendor?
That's not my lane of expertise. I know we had a bunch of individuals show up for the Talbert Center. Anybody want to comment on that?
I think we do have an HVAC vendor, HVAC R or something like that, that does the service. They have service contracts and they.
There a
handle-
service contract
Yeah,
with them?
Yeah, yep.
But that was one of our, that was one of our last bidding processes, that we had more show up for HVAC than any. There were
There's a
many.
lot out there. I've done a few bids for HVAC. You can get a lot of people that show up. It's,
Many.
Yeah.
yeah, because we had 11 buildings, so there was a lot where they could,
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a systemic reflection. We have some dated infrastructure, or in that case, utility support structures that not only cost us a lot of money in the billing cycles, but needed replacement. And luckily, we had some funds unlocked to be able to focus on that.
Does the city deal with any national purchasing agencies like Omnia Partners, Sourcewell, MyDeal, which is a state thing?
So we do the cooperatives. It's kind of a pet peeve of mine. There are very limited reasons for doing those, but we certainly do when it makes sense and is appropriate. But I don't like relying on them more than is necessary.
Any other questions or comments for us in front of you?
To let the board know, I believe I put it in there, but I do have my S1 water license. The license was there.
Yes, we appreciate that. Well, we're really grateful for your time, especially on a Friday evening. Thanks for addressing all of our questions we had for you. Thanks for your additional questions you've raised. Any closing comments you'd like to provide to council before we let you go on with your evening?
I'd just like to say thank you for taking your time out on a Friday evening. I'm sure there's other things you would like to do rather than being here all the time. Just thank you for the time and the opportunity, and I hope I hear something back here from you soon.
That's a perfect segue. We've discussed this with other candidates this evening, so council will have 4 interviews today. Potentially, if council so chooses, a 5th interview next week. One candidate was unavailable this evening. And our next council meeting is the 23rd of September. So we'd hope that our information gathering converges on the 23rd, and we'd hope that you hear from us prior to that 23rd date.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you. Oh, you're good. That's okay.
Appreciate you for being here.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, sir.
I'm gonna do this hand, I got a hole in that one. All right?
Council, I did not see our next candidate yet.
He's out there.
Is he out there? Cool. Can I grab him?
Please.
Let's see if he's out there.
See, you're hanging in there.
He was really nervous.
You're hanging in there.
Once he got calmed down, he
You
answered the
don't have any
questions
public
very well.
comment or anything?
You're very direct.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, he's definitely nervous.
And sometimes it might not be nervous.
I do not see anybody.
Was it for 6 o'clock?
Come down.
6:15 was our last one, I believe. Let's see here.
No, he was, I thought he said going to the bathroom.
Perhaps, yeah.
Probably caught by a train.
There he is.
Oh,
Oh,
Woody.
no, I think he's outside.
Is he out there?
Yeah, I think he,
All right, I'll go
I think
grab him.
he just walked to his car. Yep. Yeah, it's exactly there. I mean, I went online and I didn't see anything on any of them. It was bad.
Well, council, maybe since we have a few minutes, do we want to talk about the fifth candidate? It's candidate KS. Vince had sent an email. Long story short, KS was not available this evening. But was thinking if everybody's open to it, we could do a motion for a special meeting if you so chose to have that one interview, and we could do that next Friday. Same time, based on work schedules, so it'd be Friday the 20th, 4 PM for one 45-minute slot.
I won't be here next Friday.
You're not gonna be here?
I'm not really interested in delaying it and waiting for this interview.
Hi.
How are you, sir? Good. Well, welcome. We're gonna get started early if you're open to that. I'm open to it. Appreciate you, you were at our council meeting as well, so thank you for being back at our chambers.
Hi there. Nice to meet you.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for reaching out to me by phone.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
I got a hole in my hand. Let's do the other one, all right?
Thanks.
Well, Mr. Trent, we really appreciate you for being our fourth candidate that is being interviewed here on a Friday evening. And we'd like to allow you to state your name, and then we're going to go ahead and go across the council members for questions that we have for you. So if you could start us off.
Very good. Well, over and above my name, Mr. Mayor, if it's okay with you and your colleagues, if you'll give me the courtesy of maybe 3 minutes to just provide a little bit of background and clarify some of the things on my resume.
I have no
appreciate
issue with
that
that unless council
opportunity.
does.
Please.
Please, floor is yours.
Oh, very good. David Trent. I'm a resident of Salem Township in the northeast corner of Washtenaw County. We have 3 other counties that are right around us. Oakland to the north, Wayne County to the east, and Livingston County to the northwest. And I've been a resident of Salem for 24 years now and got involved with my township board in 2004, where I ran for clerk. And when I was asked to consider running for clerk, I said, well, let me find out what a clerk does. So I have high regard for your clerk, and had the good fortune of being elected for 2 terms as clerk. Decided to transition to a trustee role in 2012 in Salem Township because we, at that time, and we still don't have infrastructure that never came across our border. Our friends to the east in Northfield Township, Plymouth Township, and Canton Township. When I was growing up at Plymouth High School in the late 60s, early 70s, everything was farm fields back in the day. That's not the case anymore. It's a great deal of residential growth in all 3 of those communities. And their water and sewer has expanded to our doorstep, and we're in the process, thanks to some grant monies from the state of Michigan, to have installed a water system. We're still working with some neighbors to the south in the state of Michigan to complete the process for a sewer line that would run about 7 to 8 miles from our doorstep to Ypsilanti, which has the capacity, which we've contracted with them, to have 1 million gallons a day, assuming our urban service district that requires public water and public sewer would be hooked up to. So it's still a work in progress. It's going to be years before we see the kind of growth that our neighbors to the east have experience, but it's something that we're planning for that particular part of our community. And one of the pluses that was devised by our planning consultant back in the mid-'90s was to create a master plan that planned for high-density growth in the urban service district, because we have an exit off of M14. If you were heading west to Ann Arbor, you could get off in the southeast corner of our township in an area that's really designed for commercial growth and office. And with that, it maintains the rural atmosphere of the rest of the township, which is why the vast majority of people that have moved to Salem in the last 20 years have come our way, because we have a 2-acre minimum. So but everybody's on well and septic if you live in the country in our backyard. So just wanted to give you a little bit of background as to my history with Salem Township, being on the board. Again, it was a part-time position. As my wife said, when are you going to get a full-time job? So I did some other activities for a few years. And when I was the clerk, even at the end of my first term, I had several people that approached me and said, you know, David, with your leadership skills, business background, the way you handle yourself, I'm mild-mannered, low-key. I'm kind of like the Clark Kent of Salem Township, but I don't put an S on my shirt. But it just wasn't politically viable for me to try to do that. And again, it was a part-time position. And so I maintained my clerk position in '08, transitioned in '12, and decided when I was experiencing, or let's say evaluating, what do I want to do with the rest of my career path? And I affectionately call what I do today in municipal government and village manager experience the third phase of my career path. And like many people, you go through different job functions and opportunities and challenges as you go through life. And so I decided, maybe being a village manager in a small community, get some experience for my resume in that regard. And then, maybe as an assistant city manager somewhere. And so the way things have played out, and deliberately, and I wanted to make sure you folks were aware of this, is that I deliberately chose to apply and obtain positions in communities that were far distant from my home township so that I could avoid a conflict of interest. So I've been in Ortonville, which is in the north part of Oakland County, Grass Lake, which is in Jackson County, and most recently in Almont, which is in the southeast corner of Lapeer County. And so even though there was some commute time to all those adventures, it was something that I chose to do because I didn't want to have anything crop up that would constitute some sort of conflict of interest where I would have to back away from being involved in any of those issues that might crop up. So that's part of the reason why you see, why did David Trent go where he did? Well, that was why. It was my personal choice to do that. So with that, I think I bring a unique blend of experience and activities that would be a good fit for this community. And some of those entail long-term planning. As you will note, I put together a 10-year road project for the village of Almont and a financial plan to pay for the roads in that community. And I've had some great success in each of my communities for obtaining grant monies. And so I think I'm a money man for helping a community, because in small communities, grant money is crucial to getting some of those bigger infrastructure projects completed. And also just from financial planning and oversight. As the village manager in each of those communities, I was responsible for signing each and every check. So I knew every bill, I knew the content of those bills and expenditures, and could respond to those if there was a question from the council at a council meeting. And so I was always prepared for those meetings. And in each of those items I just mentioned, as well as having some DDA experience in Grass Lake, where I wore both hats. And I've always had a strong interest in business, economic development. I've had some success in Grass Lake and Almont in that regard, and even in our home township of Salem, where we're engaging in economic development with property owners in our urban service district, planning for the future. So I'm happy to elaborate on any of those past experiences with you. If you have questions, I'm happy to share my background and achievements with you folks. So with that, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for letting me have a few minutes to provide a little bit of extra background.
I appreciate that a lot. And we're going to go ahead and start our round of questions for you. So Councilman McNabb, do you want to kick us off with question number
The
one?
opening statement, you've covered that. What do you know about the city of Gibraltar?
Well, as Mr. Mayor indicated, I had the interest enough to come and attend your meeting. I've watched a couple meetings online. I've been doing some research. According to Google, if that's accurate, your population as of this year is 4,853 people. I've driven drive-throughs to the community on 3 occasions now, and it's a unique community. I think you folks refer to yourself, at least some of your residents refer to yourself as the Venice of Michigan, if not the country. And so there's obviously some distinct pluses for this community because of where you're located and the water, et cetera, et cetera. But there's also the challenges of how do you grow if there isn't any land available to develop or expand, and so on and so forth. And so those are things that if I have the opportunity to come and serve with you folks, that we would explore what can we do, and work with your planner and other consultants to better understand the community, the history of why things are the way they are. I know you got a cute little Dairy Queen down the street. I might stop there for an ice cream cone on my way home. But that's what I know about Gibraltar at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Communication is key. And how are you asking with help or instructions if you're not comfortable with the task?
If I understand your question fully, I'm a firm believer in being a team player. So I encourage staff to come to me if there's an issue or if they need some help on a project. By the same token, even though I have a wealth of experience, having been involved in municipal government now for 20 years and being a village manager for 7, and having the luxury because of the financial cushion that my home township has, where going to training seminars, et cetera, is never an issue, that, that if I don't know the answer to something, I'm going to say, hey, what can we do to learn about a certain issue or project? Who do we need to reach out to, whether it's a consultant or some special training class to help us get the answers? And, that could be, reaching out to the folks at MML, who I know several of those folks because of attending seminars and conferences with MML. They're up in Mackinac City right now. We are not in Mackinac City, or Mackinac Island right now, but I'm a firm believer in a teamwork approach because of my background in quality assurance. A name that you folks may not be familiar with, but is held in high regard in the quality world, was Dr. Edward Deming, who believed that management was responsible for 85% of the problems in the world, because whoever has the gold makes the rules. And so in our world of municipal government, either by statute or by internal policy approval, we make the rules. Somebody might help make the rules for us, such as the state of Michigan or Uncle Sam. But by the same token, it's imperative that we know what those rules are, ensure our staff is familiar with those rules, what the playbook is, and how we need to abide in And really, the bottom line that I'm a firm believer in is customer satisfaction and making sure that the citizens that come to our front door, are treated with respect, that we service their needs timely and efficiently and effectively.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
David, when you are faced with limited resources, financial, human resources, and otherwise, how do you as a manager set priorities for the use of your limited resources?
Well, depending on what the limited resource might be, whether it's manpower or finances, let me just delve into the world of finances. I kind of touched on it briefly earlier, that getting grant monies is critical to help supplement the general fund and, the road budgets for smaller communities, village, city, township. And so it's really the power of networking to some extent. I'm a firm believer in that, regardless of who's in political power in Lansing or Washington, D.C. And so from that standpoint, I've had a lot of success in developing the connections at the right time with folks with the Jackson Road Commission that enabled the Village of Grass Lake to basically get funded a federal eligible road where initially we were responsible for 20% of the cost. Because I attended a meeting in Adrian, I had to go an hour and a half early in the morning on a cold winter day just to make sure that the monies that had been approved at the county level in Jackson were going to not get upended when the other two counties came to the table, because who knew if they would be asking for similar funds from the task force that's responsible for approving those federal eligible funds in the region 2. And so by attending that meeting, it came out where, again, the connections, the chairperson of the overall committee was the operations director for Jackson County. So I knew I already had her support. One of the village managers in Jackson County that I had developed a relationship with was a voting member, and I knew I had his vote, so it was just the other county members, where would they stand? They ended up approving our project. And then as the meeting progressed, it turned out that the gentleman from MDOT, who handles Step D monies, was present at the meeting, and he had missed the meeting before. So he was reporting because some communities had to postpone projects or weren't in a financial position to step up and take care of the project for monies that they had already been approved for, they were returning the monies. And so he said, we've got an extra $70,000, in our hip pocket that we can spend on whatever. And so the chairperson from Jackson Road Commission said, well, the village manager from Grass Lake is here, and it just so happens, coincidentally, that their cost for their 20% is $70,000. How about if we approve that $70,000 for Grass Lake? It was approved unanimously, and I was able to go to my village council the next week and say, that road project that was going to cost us X amount of dollars, it's now going to cost us Zippo. All we have to pay for is minimal engineering fees from Jackson County. So, same thing with the federal grant that we received in the village of Almont through Congresswoman McLean, almost $4 million. And, there's only so many projects that a congressman or a congresswoman or a senator can get into the budget. And so we knew we were in competition with other communities. And because of a suggestion from our engineering consultant, who happened to work for Debbie Stabenow 10 years prior, and he said, David, one of the things you might want to do is reach out to Mrs. McLean's staff people and invite them to the village of Almont and do a field trip and show them what you're trying to accomplish with this $4 million that you're queued up, but you're in competition with other communities. And so we invited two of our staff people to come out, and we gave them a field trip for an hour, told them what we were trying to accomplish with a road rehabilitation project, water main replacement for a water main that was from the 1920s, and also a modest sewer project on the opposite end of the main street. And we ended up getting approved. And because of my involvement with our DDA boards, I attended the DDA Spring Conference Legislative Day up in Lansing. And we were sitting at a table, and a new state representative who didn't cover our area, but he was in Lapeer County and just north of our district. And we were having lunch with him and his two staff people. And he said, well, what's new in your backyard? And I told him, well, we just got approved for this $4 million road project. And one of his staffers had transitioned from being on the Mrs. McLean's staff and ended up being on the staff of this new state rep up in Lansing. And he ended up rattling off exactly what the project was and what we were trying to accomplish. And so to me, that confirmed that the reason we wanted to do that was that then they could chew on Congresswoman McLean's ear and say, you know, we were out in Almont and they've got this project and it really would improve the economic development opportunities in their downtown and take care of a road, take care of water quality, da-da-da-da-da. And so again, the power of networking. And so in light of the current political election coming up, whether it's Mike Rogers or if it's Alyssa Slotkin, if I have the honor of sitting in an office at this complex, which is beautiful, by the way, that we're going to reach out and develop those relationships with the future senator and get to know their staff people and see if we can accomplish some great things with infrastructure grant monies down the road. From a personnel standpoint, I've had the good fortune in my role as the clerk, where I get to appoint my deputies, as the village manager, where I have the opportunity to hire and fire personnel. I've never had one issue that I've had to deal with if they directly report to me. But I did have an issue in Grass Lake where it turned out a new treasurer that we hired, her resume didn't really reflect her work capability. And we learned after a few months, because the outgoing treasurer was actually coming in after hours, she had taken a full-time position with another company, being a single mom. And she was trying to train this new individual. And we found out as we were getting closer to having to start putting the paperwork together for our upcoming audit that we were not ready. Things were in disarray because the new treasurer really didn't grasp the BSNA program as well as she needed to. And so I was able to bring in an accounting consultant that I've worked with in the past in Salem Township. And I was also able to coax an individual who had the experience, having been the assistant controller at Eastern Michigan, to be our staff accountant in Grass Lake. And between those two people, we were able to get our new treasurer properly trained with the new BSNA program that we had transitioned to from what the village had had in the past, and got ready for the audit and made it through the audit. But ever since then, because of the expertise of our staff accountant, the village has never had any issues going forward. And the staff accountant, who's a friend of mine, passed on a compliment from the current village manager. And she told him, the best decision David Trent ever made was hiring you. So to me, that speaks volumes that, their financial world is in good order. And that's critical for a community. And I know you folks are going through a little bit of an issue in that regard right now as well. And I think I have the background, the resources, even just to make a phone call and kick things around with somebody at no cost, because I have those kinds of relationships with people that know the ins and outs.
Thank you.
No, I'm up.
Yeah, Katie, you're up.
Sorry.
Question number 4.
As administrator, how do you view your role in local government in comparison to the role of the elected officials?
Well, I look at my job as being customer-oriented to you folks. I think one of the biggest jobs that I have is making sure between the staff that reports to me and myself that council has the best information available when it comes to council meeting time so that you can make the best informed decision. So it's imperative that we have our ducks in a row, that we know what we're bringing to the table for your recommendation. And not that every time that we propose something that it's 100% right. You know, I'm always open to a good idea or suggestion that says, you know, what if we did this, or what if we added this to what's being proposed? I'm always for that. We've always had some good ideas come from council members because you folks, if you're still in the workforce, you know, you're dealing with those kinds of opportunities and challenges every day. And so you can bring something to the table that has value, and I respect that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Question number 5 for you is, in your potential role as administrator, who do you feel is the most important group, individuals, or organization that you would interact with?
I chuckle because when I was wearing my consultant hat for a few years after I left GM, I had the opportunity, because I was doing a lot of consulting work in Ohio, and a company that I was working with through a consulting group, I had to do a lot of interface with their HR manager. And she invited me to the county HR meeting in this community that I was visiting. And because of my research and because of Dr. Deming and Dr. Duran and, you know, my belief in the world of quality managers and top leadership, taking the bull by the horns and implementing good processes and procedures that encourage better quality from the products that are produced, as well as employee satisfaction is paramount as well. And so part of me has always said that the most important person in the organization could be the HR manager, because in most organizations, whoever the president is, or let's say the board of directors, that the HR manager has the ear of that individual. And so if there's a staffing issue or staffing problem, or if a policy needs to be modified, the HR person could be very important to providing good information to the leadership in that realm. In the world of municipal government, I believe that the clerk and the treasurer are key components in my interface with staff, just because of the financial standpoint and the type of responsibilities that those two individuals are required to perform by statute or their job description expectations from the council.
Thank you. Question number 6 goes to Councilwoman Wood.
Oh,
Okay.
just, I don't want to neglect the importance of the DPW department. You know, in every community that I've been part of, the DPW has had responsibilities for either water and/or sewer repairs, or have had to take ownership of a wastewater treatment plant for the community. And, you know, when it comes to snow removal and street sweeping and leaf pickup and all those things that improve the quality of life in a community, those departments are very important to the community. And I've always had a good working relationship with the department heads and the employees respectively in those departments. So I wanted to make sure that they didn't get overlooked in regard to your question. Thank you.
Okay, question number 6. In your professional career, what do you find to have been the most rewarding aspects of your current/previous jobs and the most rewarding aspects of the position you are applying for?
Well, as far as my past experience, I would say taking care of financial issues right from my very first meeting as a clerk in Salem Township, where the auditors had to apply for an extension before the audit was reviewed and submitted to the state. They asked for a 3-month extension. And part of the reason why was that the books in Salem Township were in total disarray. And so they convened a pre-meeting between the outgoing clerk, who had transitioned to a trustee role, and myself as the new clerk. And we met in a conference room in a different building, and they kind of gave us a broad brush highlight of what they were going to discuss at the board meeting regarding the audit. And after 15 or 20 minutes, and there was maybe 10 minutes before the meeting was scheduled to start, they asked the outgoing clerk, new trustee, to go ahead, and they wanted to have a private word with me. And after she left the room, they said, "David, we know you're the new kid on the block, and we wanted to let you know that if your predecessor had run for re-election, had gotten elected again as clerk, that we would have gone to your township board tonight to say, fire us as your auditors and hire us as your bookkeepers," because that's what the auditors were doing to try to get the books straightened out. They had several pages, front and back, of year-end journal entries. And it was basically a nightmare from an auditing standpoint, where they had to be the bookkeepers. And so they said, "We'll give you a year and see how you do." Well, it took us several months, because when we got the November bank statements to reconcile for the next board meeting, we were already $7,800 off from the end of the fiscal year that the auditors had just put together as bookkeepers. And so it took us a few months to figure out why that was, and it was really a very simple mistake. We thought it was, had to be a check or a combination of checks. It was just a posting error for the interest income that the township was receiving. But by the time we figured out what the problem was, we got gigged on the next audit because we weren't reconciling the bank statements in a timely manner. But once we figured out what the problem was, everything got reconciled. We've never had a problem going forward since then. And that deputy clerk that worked for me, it was a part-time position. Eventually, she ended up resigning to take a position in her home township, so she didn't have a commute, just because she was traveling about 30 miles to our backyard. But she was a fantastic individual, and she ended up taking over the payroll responsibilities for a larger township. And she was the go-to person for payroll and benefits. She really knew her stuff. And I was able to hire a replacement who actually had an accounting degree from Lawrence Tech. And one of the things that we were able to do with this individual after we hired them is bring in BS&A for hands-on training. And because she came from the corporate world, and so she didn't know anything about municipal software. And we planned for BS&A to have a trainer on site for 2 days, 8 hours each. Halfway through the day at lunchtime, the BS&A guy packs up his bags and says, "I'm going home. There's nothing more I can teach her. She knows it intuitively." 4 hours by hiring the right person with the experience as an accounting, with an accounting background. And we always had the ability to call in our accounting consultant by phone because we were at that level at that point. And so that was a big reward, because we were able to basically save the cost of Plant Moran coming in and being bookkeepers, and they were going to charge us $50,000 a year. So that was my very first meeting as a clerk. In Grass Lake, the first day that I was on the job by myself, because they had a system in place where the outgoing manager, I got to shadow him, or he shadowed me, well, however you want to say it. But for a few weeks, he was still around. But on day November 1, I was all by myself. I was the manager. Office opened up at 9 o'clock. At 9:15, the phone rings, and it's the equalization director from Jackson County. She says, David, congratulations on your new appointment as the village manager. We know you're brand spanking new, but we got a question for you. We're reviewing our L4029s that are going to go to the county commission later this month for a meeting for approval before it goes to the state tax tribunal. So I really learned a lot about what's involved in these L4029s that get put together by the clerk and the treasurer and the manager. And she said, we misread one column where we thought it was a 1.0, and it turns out it was a 10.0. And it has to do with your new tax rate. Did you folks increase your tax base earlier this year? And I said, well, I know just from conversation and looking at some old minutes that the council did approve a tax rate increase. She said, well, did you guys have an election to approve that by the voters? I said, well, I'm brand spanking new today. I'll do some research and find out. And by the end of the day, I discovered that there wasn't an election, that the former village manager had misconstrued and misinterpreted the Headley Amendment and had convinced his council that they didn't have to have an election to increase the millage rate, which was designed and geared for public works. Buy a new snowplow, new equipment for snow removal, et cetera, et cetera. So it was all stuff that was going to the DPW department. Well, here it is, it's November. They approved that rate increase for the July summer tax bill. The money had already been collected by September 14th, and the new snowplow truck was sitting in the DPW yard, $160,000. And I was told you might have to refund $70,000 to your community because you didn't have an election. That was the first week in November. I was able to arrange for an attorney consultant that had worked with us in Salem Township because the attorney for the Village of Grass Lake was basically on his way out the door. He was ready to retire. He was only in the office a couple days a week. He was ready to go down to Florida for the winter. And he basically said, municipal finance really isn't my bag. I'm more labor and violation notice type things. And if you want to get somebody else, that's what I wanted to hear because I knew who I wanted to hire. So I put together a packet for council to approve this other individual to be our attorney to help us with this issue. Got him in touch with the equalization director, and that was approved by council on a Tuesday night. That Friday was Veterans Day. Now, our office just happened to be closed on Friday, but the county office was closed as well because it was a federal holiday. And even though the office was closed, that equalization director was working from home, and I was able to facilitate a conference call between her and my attorney who had come up with a game plan. And the equalization director had told me when she called me at 10:15 that morning to say, can you hook me up with your attorney this morning? I said, I'd be happy to, but she said, I just want to warn you, David, I've had this reviewed by our county corporate counsel, and it's even been reviewed at the high level by the chair of the State Tax Commission. And as far as we're concerned, and as far as they're concerned, you guys violated the law, and you should probably plan to pay $70,000 in refund next year. That was at 10:15. At 5 to 12, she calls me back while I'm having my second cup of coffee in the kitchen that day. And she says, David, your attorney has sold me on this revised game plan that he wants to submit. And by his research, because he used to be a village attorney, he went to the general law handbook and discovered that villages had the right, without going to an election, to increase millage rates for highways and streets. And so that was proposed to the equalization director. She said, I think this could work. She ran it up the flagpole. Corporate counsel at the county bought it. She reviewed it with the state tax commission. The chair of that body bought it. And so we ended up processing new paperwork with the county commission's approval for a revised L 4029 that basically took that increase in millage and reduced the operating millage, created the same millage rate for highways and streets, and that ended up getting approved through the process by the end of the year, even at the State Tax Commission. That saved the community $70,000. So when you talk about rewards, you know, I'm going back a little bit in my history, but, you know, day one of being a clerk and avoiding a $50,000 consultant fee, and then this issue cropping up on day one in Grass Lake. Fortunately, I didn't have those kinds of issues in Almont.
Thank you so much. And I just want to, just out of respect for all the candidates, we do have 45 minutes booked per candidate, and so I just want to make sure we can get all the questions, because we
Sure.
have
I'll
still
try to
about
talk
half, the
faster.
back half of the questions. No, just as a time flag, just out of respect for
Oh, sure.
fair assessment across each candidate. But
I
thank you for the
understand.
very thorough answer. Did you have any other questions on that one?
No, very good, thank you.
Okay, great. Councilman Cox, you want to take us to question number 7?
Do you have any experience with millage requests?
Yes.
What do you think's the most important aspect of a successful millage campaign?
Convincing the citizens that there's value and merit to jacking up your tax base. That can not always be easy, but depending on what the project is, I'll use roads as an example. And I think to some degree it was bad timing. Our friends in Almont Township pushed for a millage increase for roads. And this was encouraged by the Lapeer County Road Commission, because they basically said, you know, we're one of the smaller population counties in the state. We don't have the resources that, you know, Ingham County or Washtenaw County has to invest in roads. And so if we're ever going to have enough funding to maintain the township roads, which included the village. So we were tie-barred together with that opportunity, because village residents could vote on township issues. That it ended up going on the ballot this past fall. And it got tubed. And it was because there was another millage opportunity that was being advocated by the school board. And it was, you know, one of those where, you know, the people weren't ready to buy into X of millions of dollars of new bonding for the school district, plus 4 mills for roads over the next 15 years. Thank you, but no thank you. You know, so that's where, again, going back to the need for grant funding or USDA funding, if this community would be eligible for that, where you can get low-interest loans. You know, that's where, you know, determining, is this the right time to ask people to dig into their pocketbook? And so you've got to know the pulse of the community. You know, what's the unemployment rate for your citizens? Can they really handle that kind of financial uptick in taxes when they pay their winter and summer tax bills?
Thank you.
Councilman McNabb, do you want to take us to question number 8?
Yes. As a manager, you could potentially serve as the DPW director, EDA director, on the pension board, HR director, the benefit coordinator, interfaces with the planning commission, as well as performs a variety of roles. How would you address the need for such a diverse knowledge base to be efficient, effective in all these roles?
That's a lot of responsibility. I have had to wear the hats of the DDA director as well as the village manager when I was in Grass Lake. I've attended numerous DDA conferences just because of my interest in that realm. And so economic development is something that is of strong interest for me. So I don't have any issues with that particular extra responsibility, if you will. In Almont, one of my hats that I had to wear was the zoning administrator. And so I took the initiative of going through the MSU extension training to obtain the certificate to be a zoning administrator. And that proved helpful because we had 2 new ZBA members that came on board during my tenure there. And so, ZBA meetings is, something that's near and dear to my heart, if you will, that I attended those meetings. And because of the interface I had with DPW and wastewater treatment plant, that I think I could handle those responsibilities because I interface with those departments on a consistent basis, looking for grant monies for the wastewater treatment plant facility, and for the DPW. One of the biggest issues we had in Almont, because historically it was one of the first communities that was able to hook up to Detroit Water, and we're talking years ago, and they had clay pot sewer lines throughout the community, and they're still in place today. And one of the things that we implemented here in the last couple of years was we hired a couple of college kids, interns for the summer, and a local foundation helped pay the cost. They had a program called Return to Earn, trying to encourage college students who lived in the area to come back to your backyard and learn about municipal activities and county activities, et cetera, et cetera. So my council, when I threw out this opportunity where the foundation would pick up half the cost for 8 weeks of employment for a college student, and we had them involved with our DPW crew, trying to figure out where are the biggest sources of I&I, because it was impacting our wastewater treatment plant, especially during heavy rains. And the North Clinton River tributary runs through Almont and causes a lot of flooding issues. And so the first intern we had did a magnificent job of doing some analysis and trying to calculate, how much water was coming off of rooftops, et cetera, et cetera. But the individual we had for the next summer took it to the next level. And he was able to diagnose through pump readings that we had in 4 different sections of the community where there was a pivotal source of I&I coming in that had been completely overlooked for years by our engineering firm and even internally with our DPW, because we were relying on the engineers are saying, well, you need to focus here. Well, it turned out we needed to focus over here. And so we hired a company, $250,000 worth of relining of these crock lines to try to fix, because the company was able to go in and do video and show, here's where there's holes, here's where there's tree roots growing in, the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, we've done some work in our lane on that exact topic.
Yeah, we got some experience on that one.
So I guess to, help complete the answer to your question, sir, I think I can handle all of those responsibilities. I know there are meetings at night or late afternoon. I'm prepared to attend those because I've done it my entire career, whether it was as the clerk and all the special meetings to get ready for elections,
Yeah.
or in this case, being a village manager and wearing those additional hats in each community.
Thank you so much.
Here you go, Marcia. In this position, you may be dealing with outsourced departments similarly to the other small communities that you've mentioned earlier, where here, our building department is outsourced, our engineering department, our planning department, our legal department, and our assessing department are all outsourced. But in the eyes of the citizens, they're all the city. How would you, what is your approach to the citizen to be able to give constant feedback of where their needs are in the process with those vendors?
Well, some of those vendors I'm familiar with. By looking at some of your prior minutes, I know that you're in the process, if not officially yet, of bringing on McKenna to do some planning work and also maybe building official type stuff as well, if I'm not mistaken there.
McKenna's our building department, outsourced building department right now, and they've filled in for the remainder of a contract for planning. Yeah.
And I'm familiar with that organization because they're based in Northville, which is just a stone's throw from Salem Township. I lived in downtown Northville for 18 years. I know the principals there, Phil McKenna and John Jackson. They're great individuals. I know some of their staffing people as well because they had responsibilities in one of the communities that I served in. And so, and as far as the other areas that you mentioned, one of the things I would do within the first couple weeks of being appointed is to sit down with each of those parties, whether engineering, attorney, et cetera, and we can provide feedback to the citizens in the responsibilities of those particular departments or individuals through the Facebook or our website, or if there's a city newsletter that we can take advantage of as well, that we can, maybe pick out one department every edition to highlight.
Appreciate that.
Okay, and our last question here is, I know you took the time to prepare for the interview, but is there anything you're expecting us to ask and we didn't?
I'm glad you asked that. I do have 3 questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Number 1 is, from a budget standpoint, could you share with me what the salary range is for this position that you're looking to fill very shortly?
Yeah, council, do you want to address that, or do you want that to be a follow-up item here?
So, I don't mind.
Please, yeah.
So our last administrator was in the low 90s, and we would consider anything above or below whatever we think is appropriate based on the level of experience.
That's very appropriate. I appreciate the feedback. That's kind of what I was anticipating, but I'm glad to have that confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you clarify for me the boundaries of the DDA district?
Yeah, we can
For the
follow up
most
with that. There's maps in the back, but we can give you a map so
Great.
that you can visually see it versus trying to verbalize that for you today.
Yes, yeah, I'll take a glance at that. I should have done that while I was here
Oh, you're
earlier
good.
in the week.
We'll make sure you have a map, and I'm sure Katie's got it living on our website as well, so we'll make sure you get that information.
I have a suspicion of where the major points are of the DDA district, but I was looking to see just how widespread it might be.
Yeah, we'll get you a map for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the last question I have is, I know your current interim manager, Vince Pastu, who, as I've been talking to some of my colleagues and friends about this opportunity, and have said, Vince is your guy currently as the interim, and they said, oh, we know Vince, he's a good guy. So, yeah, I think you picked well for him being the interim manager during this time of transition. But I wanted to find out, since he's got a contract through the end of the year, to what extent does that impact the start date or the, I don't want to say overlap, but the potential interface between full-time guy and the guy that's queued up through the end of the year?
Yeah, we've discussed it as a council. The simple way to think about it that we've discussed is Vince is now in this capacity a consultant that's focused on strategic projects. So he's got some must-win projects he's focused on advancing, and where possible is helping support some of the day-to-day. So we wouldn't want that to disrupt the hire of this next individual to be the full-time day-to-day, while Vince would continue to support special projects. Vince gave council a heads up that he's getting other opportunities externally. So while the contract is through the end of the year and we've been flexible with him on an up to weekly basis support structure, we're looking for this next individual to step in, be that day-to-day oversight and manager of operations. And Vince would help continue to support transition as well as special projects mentioned.
Yeah, excellent. That's a good strategy from my standpoint.
We're grateful for him and the time he spent with us.
Very good.
Just one last question for you that we've been asking for each candidate, if that's the three that you had for us, which is, do you have any personal or business relationships with anybody in this chambers?
No.
Awesome. And as far as next steps, I know that was partly alluded to, but we're gonna, you're our last candidate this evening. And then we're gonna try and converge all the information on a September 23rd council discussion and action if they so chose. So we'll be in touch before then, hopefully, as we approach that 23rd meeting.
I guess as a follow-up to your comment, Mr. Mayor, I know at your last meeting, you had whittled the 9 applications down to 7. Is there a second meeting for the other applicants, or have they opted not to move forward with the process?
We have an update for council, and that'll be something we'll discuss after we close this.
Okay.
One other applicant that would like to pursue another date for interview. The other applicants will not be pursued for other reasons.
Okay, very good. Thanks for that update.
Absolutely. Council, any other questions for this applicant?
How much experience have you had in Wayne County, if any, dealing with the county?
Wayne County, negligible. Back when I was clerk, I helped organize a 4-county training session for clerks in Macomb, Wayne, Oakland, and Washtenaw County. And so, that did involve, people from Wayne County, but not at the Wayne County administrative level.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we are very grateful for your time. Appreciate your initiative and being at the last council meeting and for tuning in and for being here with us today. Appreciate the thorough responses. We hope you have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to being in touch.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity, and look forward to your feedback.
Appreciate it so much. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your night and your weekend.
Thank you.
Council, that concludes our 4 interviews scheduled tonight. I know we just started the discussion, but how do we feel about the 5th applicant?
Yeah, I personally am not interested in extending the interview. I think there's some expediency things that we need to look at these for and make a decision and go. That's my opinion. If there's anybody else who's thinks that we should wait, I don't, looking at the resume, I'm okay if it wasn't a priority to be able to be here. Given whatever reasons it is, I'd rather move forward.
My only comment, as you all are considering, is just that the timeline is a good call out, but this wouldn't interrupt the timeline if we so chose to go the 5th route.
I'm thinking we've gone this far, why don't we go ahead and,
Yeah.
because I know so far I've already seen like one pick.
I mean, I think we voted yes to pursue that as an interview. I think there's a scheduling I can pull up the email, but it wouldn't delay our discussion on the 23rd if that's what your concern is, because we'd still merge to that. Councilman McNabb, you have a conflict for the 20th, correct? Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
I don't think it's mission critical. I mean, we don't have Councilman Valentine here, so for those that can make it, do we want, I mean, it's gonna be a council's motion, but do we want to make another interview for the 20th for that 5th candidate? What are we feeling? Dorothy, what do you think?
I don't know if we,
I don't like taking it to the Friday when we're gonna be making decisions on Monday. If we are going to interview this other applicant, I would wanna accelerate that further up in the week.
Order
That
of the
would be
week.
my preference.
I was only proposing Friday because I'm out next week, but doesn't mean you need me here. Dorothy can step in as pro tem to run that meeting if you want to do it earlier in the week.
I'm good till Tuesday, but after that, I'm gone next week.
So if you all want to do Monday or Tuesday, I just won't be able to be here with you all, but Dorothy, you could hold it down if you're so
Oh,
willing.
yay.
Another suggestion I was gonna give, but going off Councilman Cox is it does kind of give a little bit of time. Maybe prior to the regular meeting on Monday, like 2 hours before,
I think
and
that,
then we could even start talking about it after that interview, before the regular meeting.
So are we not wanting to talk to the last applicant?
I
Is that
think we
what
should. I don't see the downside in doing that.
If we're gonna be able to do it on Tuesday, that'd be fine for me.
Why do you all do it on Tuesday? I'm not going to be here, but Dorothy, you can hold it down.
I'm thinking sooner the better, because I think
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to do.
That would actually give us an opportunity to sit and discuss, these as well.
Yeah, we need a little time. If we were to interview somebody before our meeting, that doesn't give you too much time to chew on it.
Yeah.
All I would ask is if you all do Tuesday, I'd like to obviously be a part of the discussion for the debrief. So if we could do the discussion before the council meeting, as an example, on Monday, if that's fair, just so I can be there. I apologize, I have Monday through Thursday travel that I can't miss. So you could do an interview next Tuesday if you so chose. Vince can coordinate that for you all. And then we could do a pre-council meeting discussion, if you all want, on the Monday.
We do have planning and DDA on Tuesday afternoon.
Is that what, 6:30? Yeah, you could do it before that.
I'm just trying to work out the timeline to make sure it's posted.
Up to you all. I just think we committed to the interview, and if it'd be good to, like,
Planning
Councilwoman.
Commission's at 6:30, right?
It says 6:30.
If we did a 5:30 or 5 o'clock and I'm just tossing out ideas, I'm not.
Well, I'm just thinking we need our 18 hours notice, and Vince has to make contact with her on Monday.
Right.
I can text Vince now. I know he's already in contact. He sent us an email. I'll text Vince now if he's not already listening. I don't think you need even a motion. You could just, I can request a special meeting via email if y'all want the Tuesday one. Katie, that gives you what you need on documentation. And then you could post it publicly on Monday. It's only 18 hours, right? Assuming that it's confirmed with Vince.
Yeah, and I could call the candidate right now.
All right. What do y'all think? I think it's the right thing to do to interview number 5.
I think she said her family's 50th anniversary, right, the candidate? Wasn't that why she wasn't here? It was their 50th
I think it was, yeah, it was
anniversary
some
party or
level of
something like
conflict.
that. It was tonight?
We are having it on a Friday night.
Yeah, so,
Let's do this. It doesn't require a motion. It sounds like you all would be interested if Tuesday's an option. You could do it before let's see what the candidate says, but we could target it to parallel planning and DDA. Dorothy, you'll run the meeting. I won't be here. And then we could do our debrief discussion prior to the council meeting,
okay.
if y'all want, right? We'll just take that Monday option, right? So we start at what, 6:30? We can start at 5:30?
Yeah.
That sound good, everybody? I don't think we need a motion for either, because I can just email it if everybody's aligned.
Yep.
Katie, does that work for you? All right, good discussions. Thank you all for time on Friday. Does somebody want to call a motion to adjourn?
Oh, hold on one second, I'm sorry. I don't want to make a motion on this right now, but I wanted to distribute it so that we can get it on our next meeting agenda. This is a proposal from this is a
Nice.
proposal from a
Accountant.
accounting firm that does forensic accounting. And I put together a proposed resolution along with their proposal.
Love this.
And I've never worked with this firm before, but they come with a pretty good referral.
Thank you.
And so I just figured I would hand this out. It's very short and sweet, but something that we can chew on in the week, and then like to get this on the agenda. Our treasurer spoke with the MSP investigator, who highly recommended that we go this route.
Love it.
So they MSP investigator stated to our treasurer that they do not have the resources to put towards this, but highly recommended that we go this direction. So I'd like for us to think about this, and if we want to get other bids or other proposals from other forensic accounting firms in the meantime, great. If not, hopefully we can discuss this on our agenda for the following meeting.
Appreciate it. Where did you find these individuals?
So one of my previous employees who grew up here in Gibraltar worked for this company. It was the first company that he worked with outside, once he got his CPA degree. He worked for this company for a number of years before he opened his own firm.
Nice.
So he had, I reached out to him and he gave me the referral for this company.
That's awesome. Thank you for doing that.
Any questions for me?
Nope.
Good, good. We'll put it on the agenda and something to talk about. Do you want to cover it in your report on Monday?
Sure,
All right,
yeah,
cool.
absolutely, no problem.
Anything else for this evening? I enjoyed my Friday night with y'all. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Katie, please call roll.
Mulmer,
Yes.
Schumate,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Cosmore,
Yes.
McNabb.
Yes.
All right, I will shoot Vince a note. He can reach out to the last candidate. Assuming Tuesday works, I'll just write an email, which is enough to call it, and then Katie can post it. And then Dorothy, you'll run it. And then we'll do another special meeting, which I can call for Monday, the 23rd, prior to council, so we can talk about the candidates. All good?